greatest podcast in the nation.
I'm out.
Joining me
Goodbye.
as joining me as always is Dan, Julian, Larone, and Mitch. We are missing our boy Mauricio, so everyone give him shout outs as he travels the world. He will be joining us again next week, hopefully. So
Maybe he will
look
not be
forward
joining
to
me in
that.
Missouri.
He won't be doing that. So anyway, going into our first news topic of the week, we have Google announces Project Stream, which lets you stream games in Chrome. We kind of did briefly. We saw a rumor for this a couple podcasts ago, and now, faster than we thought, it is a real thing. They're doing some beta signups and stuff for people to start trying this tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. I'm trying to remember, what's the first game that they're doing? Odyssey. The game that is confusingly Assassin's Creed Odyssey, to be clear, not Super Mario Odyssey. Okay. Assassin's Creed clearly naming their game to make people confuse it with Odyssey. Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, because that other Odyssey never existed. Gotcha.
Yeah, it didn't.
The one they're both referencing doesn't exist.
To be fair, that was a long time ago. There was this is right on the heels of Super Mario Odyssey. The Super Mario Odyssey was like a few thousand years later than the other Odyssey. So I think give Nintendo some credit. Like, come on.
Fine. Nintendo's the best company in the world. They can do no wrong. Their internet plan is fantastic. You're just a hater.
I wouldn't go that far. But anyway, I think
I only work in extremes.
That's fair enough. Anyway, this is going to be super interesting. What's interesting is they're looking for people, the beta testers, to have internet speeds of at least 25 megabits a second. That is lower than I would have expected as a requirement. Right? Yeah, I think more than 50% of America has that, so that's pretty good. Like, I think that's about the average, or even a little lower than the average. So
maybe they're just not doing what Sony's doing, and they're not just throttling everyone's connection and then telling them that it's slow.
Yeah. So 25 down is what's required.
25 down?
25 down.
Why? Why does download speed matter?
What? That's what matters the most.
Aren't you uploading the stream thing?
The game is being streamed to your computer.
Yeah.
From their servers. So you're receiving video, and the only thing that's going out from your computer is controller inputs, which is not much data at all.
Yeah.
So the only thing going out is controller inputs. Coming in is the game.
Oh.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what did you think?
I think he thought they were looking for people to upload the game so other people could stream it.
I thought that, like, I don't know. I thought something different.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it.
Alright.
Alright, Dan, go hibernate until we talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I don't want to talk about it.
I too will go hibernate.
Yeah. So to be very clear, this is basically like you don't need the point is you can play like a AAA game, you know, with good graphics and whatever. But you don't need a really powerful PC to do it. You just need a good enough internet connection and a PC that can more or less play in HD video. And basically the idea is the game is sitting on one of Google's servers that's powerful enough to handle the game. And it sends you back a live video feed, and you play with a controller on your PC, and the inputs go to the server. Inputs happen in the game. Video gets streamed back to you. All quick enough to have a low lag experience. That's the promise. This has been attempted before with mixed results. But if anyone knows how to do this kind of thing, it probably Google. Google or Amazon is who I would place my bets on for this kind of thing.
Who did it before?
Well, Sony had one,
Oh, they're okay. Yeah.
and there have been a few smaller ones that have come and go. There was one that showed up in the news somewhat recently that closed down their doors after, like, right before Sony did, but I cannot remember the name of it. It was like Live something.
Well, Sony didn't close theirs; they just added the option to download the games as well.
Oh, I thought they made it. I thought they had changed it so that was the only option. Interesting. Okay.
So, I guess don't quote me on that. No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. For sure. I guess I might have just assumed that they closed it, but maybe they didn't actually. Maybe they just started offering both. But I mean, I think this kind of thing is definitely the future of gaming, but it's whether or not we're actually ready for it yet. We'll see. It'll be an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that this kind of thing, for at least a very long time, will only work for people who live in or near major cities. I mean, that's sort of inevitable with this kind of thing.
For now, yeah.
But yeah, just because internet latency is probably the biggest concern with this kind of thing. Like, I think most people's internet is fast enough to, like, get the video frames, but it's that, like, perfect connection back and forth. You know, I need to hit the A button, and within, milliseconds, I need my character to jump on my screen.
Let's put Melee on it
It's probably possible.
and play at the highest level competitively.
I mean, like, the speed of light's decently fast.
It's not fast enough.
It is fast enough for this.
So we made it faster.
Like, I mean, it's fast enough for this. Like, if most games run at 60 FPS, 16.7 milliseconds, that's a long time. Like, that's more than enough time for a round trip packet on fiber to go pretty long distance. So, we'll see.
You think Google will have like a monopoly on this if this becomes big?
I mean, Sony's got their own competitor to it.
That's true.
But, I mean, if Google takes a monopoly over it temporarily, there will be competitors. They will come. It's just a matter of who has access to the technology to make it happen. Is gonna, for now, be the Googles and the Amazons of the world. But in the future, it might be more accessible to other people. Also,
Signing up for the beta right now.
Also, Google and Amazon and companies like that are more of the type of company to more or less lease this technology as a service to other companies, as opposed to actually running it entirely themselves. That's generally not their business model for stuff like this, but like a lot of their cloud stuff is more of like, here's a cloud product, now other people can build things around this. We'll see. All right, let's try to get through these next three kind of quick. Footage of Harry Potter RPG leaks online. This will be interesting. I am optimistic because it's something I've wanted for a long time. If you ask Dan, it means I don't know what I want.
Consumers are bad at guessing what kind of media they want.
But okay, but at the same time, and in all fairness, this isn't the first Harry Potter RPG ever made. There are others, and that were decent. Like, there was one on the GameCube that was pretty good. I just want that, but with a more explorable area. I just want to fly around Hogwarts on a broom. Honestly, if that was the whole damn game, that'd probably be fine.
The whole esport game.
You just proved my point, Jake.
Well, it would have to be like $5, but
$5?
$5.
If the game was just flying around a broomstick on Hogwarts, he'd pay $5 for that.
To be fair, that is basically all I did in the old game. Just
I mean,
fly
there's probably a Skyrim mod for that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyway,
That's 100% true.
Yeah, I think that people think they want this.
I mean, it has potential.
It
just-
has potential.
It's just
So what people don't realize is, you know what's better than a Harry Potter RPG?
A normal RPG?
good RPG. Like Harry Potter's a
To
cool
be
universe,
fair,
and it's like fun to
the-
enjoy. It's fun to have like expanded media for like stuff you like, but that can't really carry it.
I
Well,
more
at
just
the
want it
same
for the
time,
setting. I want the
like-
setting of Harry Potter. I don't really care about as long as there's wizards and it's in that setting. Yes, I know
think
you're gonna
that's-
say
I think
you don't know what
that's-
you want, but
Well, I would say that doing it in the Harry Potter universe could offer something that a standard RPG is incapable of, because, well, let's face it, the normal RPG market is pretty saturated with the whole Tolkien thing, and those games are never very good. So a Harry Potter one might just stand a chance. And to point towards something else, you look at the new Dragon Ball fighting game, and that offers a game with a different set of mechanics than, say, Street Fighter, and it's also good. Might not necessarily be better, but it's good. And it has the super dashes and the teleporting and all that cool stuff that makes Dragon Ball Dragon Ball.
yeah,
So you apply that to a Harry Potter RPG, and you just might get something that's good.
yeah. I kind of feel like it's
Mm.
there are other Harry Potter RPGs that people have liked well enough, and I think it's kind of like the Spider-Man. Like everyone just wanted Spider-Man 2, like made into a like more open world modern game. It's exactly what they did with the new Spider-Man game, and it's good.
It's the go.
I heard that. Okay, this comes straight from Mark Brown, but that the game really has a very deep combat system. Then that's kind of what makes it good.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it's a Spider-Man game, but that it has a deep combat.
Okay.
I
so-
don't. I feel like at least the
I
people I've
haven't
talked
played
to
the
who have played the game, of all the things they said, no one mentioned combat.
Huh.
I will also
I
watch
haven't
that
played.
Mark Brown video, but he's also very much more analytical than the average person who plays a game.
Yeah.
Also, he has different. This is off
Oh, yeah.
topic. We can talk about Mark Brown on the Mark Brown show. That'll be our main topic at
Which
some
is
point.
what-
We are the Mark Brown.
The what now?
That'll be the meta episode where we. Okay. Anyway, speaking of Google and Amazon, footage of Amazon's MMO New World leaks.
Oh, there's footage?
Speaking of like, when did we talk about Amazon?
I mentioned it
Oh.
when we were talking about Google stuff.
You did.
I think he was trying to change the topic away from Mark Amazon Brown.
Yep. The leak.
Didn't we talk
I
about
just like
it?
this. The leak was originally posted of all places, Pornhub. So, this was leaked on Pornhub.
Why Pornhub? Does the article say? I don't.
That's just what people do.
You
don't-
you
don't
don't want
get
to upload
back
it to
to
YouTube
episodes,
because YouTube will like flag it
Take it
and
down.
take it down. And
Their next
Pornhub
video-
won't, I guess. So
Yeah, it probably
That's
took them a
hilarious.
little bit longer to get it down from Pornhub than it would have from YouTube.
if Pornhub would even take it down, they might not.
Has Pornhub taken it down?
I don't know.
I mean, I could check on. That's okay.
It's probably been re-uploaded a lot of times by now. But yeah, I don't know very much about this. This video is very long.
It plays from a third-person perspective and boasts some typically MMO features such as abilities bar running along the bottom of the screen, and numbers spilling out of any enemy that you attack.
Looks like a survival kind of.
Yeah, it's apparently a persistent open world player-driven sandbox.
So Daisy.
But it's also that's interesting. A truly persistent MMO, like sandbox MMO, that's interesting. That's definitely a technical feat.
So it's like always on. Is that?
No, it means like you cut down a tree. That tree
Yeah,
is
it's
cut down
gone.
for everyone.
Oh, okay.
Like-
okay.
It's like the real world in that like stuff is
Okay.
permanent.
Gotcha.
So that by itself is very interesting is a prospect to me. That might be one of those things that it's something that we think we want, but we probably actually don't.
Yeah, they're taking the survival game fad and putting MMO on it.
Wasn't the survival game bad like from a couple years ago? Like, why is Amazon doing like two things that are bad and
Yeah,
popular?
Yeah, I felt like that died out.
well, maybe they didn't want to make a battle royale.
And maybe they're trying to revive it. Maybe Amazon's seeing the future. The future is survival MMOs, and we just don't know it yet.
Maybe they're just taking the DayZ approach, and they're just gonna start with a survival game that turns into a battle royale naturally.
I mean, to be fair, battle royales weren't popular before PUBG and Fortnite, and those games weren't like making battle royales because it was the popular thing to do. So,
That is true.
like,
And-
somebody's got to do it first.
It's a very good point.
Like, fads don't come out of nowhere. So,
Actually, they kind of do.
well, okay, yes, they. You know what I mean? People don't all of a sudden be like, "I really wish battle royale games existed," and then they get made.
Well, no, they just say, "I just wish like Harry Potter RPGs existed."
Exactly, and that brings us into our last news topic of the week. Witcher author threatens CD Projekt Red with legal action if they don't pay him more.
Second to last topic.
Wait, what?
The last news topic of this section.
If they don't pay him more?
Pay him
Yeah.
more.
So the author of the Witcher books basically got a bad deal. He's demanding more money from CD Projekt
Did
Red.
he sign a contract?
Yeah.
Assuming
Then
yes.
tough shit.
Yeah, I mean, same thing happened to George Lucas with Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those cases where it's just like he's not going to win the lawsuit, but he's hoping they'll just like settle.
They'll settle. Yeah.
Uh,
He's asking for $16.1 million in royalties.
Ooh.
hmm And he
Um,
says Polish copyright law like entitles him to more money based
Yeah.
on like what the studio paid him and how much The Witcher has gone to profit. Basically, he thought The Witcher like their games wouldn't be profitable, so he made a bad deal.
Well, that's his fault for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
He didn't take the risk. He can't reap the reward.
exactly.
Also, this law that he quotes is horrible. Like, Article 44 may be invoked when the compensation remitted to the author is too low given the benefits obtained in association with use of that author's work. That is extremely vague and a really stupid law. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't
that's
see him
not
winning.
that's not here nor there. But yeah, I think he's probably just hoping they'll settle out and give him a couple $1 million just to not have to litigate this. And to be fair, that's probably a drop in the bucket for the Witcher devs, for CD Projekt Red. So yeah, like he's probably going to get some money out of this. So
Why not?
why not? I guess.
I feel like he's
I mean,
successful
other than
enough.
it makes you
to-
look like an asshole, but you know,
Yeah, it
people
does.
don't care
Like an
about that.
esport.
Yeah.
An esport.
We're
like
never
an
gonna.
e-sport.
We're never gonna get a sponsor. You guys keep this up.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess to play devil's advocate, it could be partially one of those things like he feels like he should take legal action to say that he got a bad deal, just so other publishers in the future maybe are less likely to try to give him a bad deal.
Hmm.
But that's
I don't think
very.
he's thinking that.
It could be at a minimum a component of this.
I mean,
Maybe.
if that was his worry, you should just get a lawyer. Have the lawyer look over the things for him.
Well, I'm almost certain that he has a lawyer.
Yeah. No,
You
that's-
sure? Now his value has significantly increased than before. Before it was like, who are you? What's this book? I don't care. Now it's like, oh, you wrote that book?
I mean, it wasn't an unpopular book series by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
He is already a famous author. So
I think The Witcher was already popular, and the games just kind of elevated that like worldwide. I think
Yeah.
that's what happened.
yeah,
Like,
I think like he wasn't super popular in the U.S., but he was more popular in Europe,
right.
I mean, it
and he
wasn't
didn't
like-
expect the U.S. North America audience to.
Well, at the same time, that's because the games are good, not because of well, I mean, the setting's a part of that.
Well, the setting, the story,
not-
the
It's not like, oh, it went from, it was guaranteed to be a good game. They still had to.
Yeah.
The people who made it still had to put a ton of work into it. They didn't just do nothing. It wasn't
And-
entirely because of him.
And they've been compensated a lot, and I think what he's saying is should maybe be compensated less, and he should be compensated more.
I don't know. I don't know all
I
the
don't know.
details, but
Yeah,
I just feel like you signed a contract. George Lucas had to deal with that.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
should you. Like, I'll be more specific with the George Lucas thing, but he for toy sales, he gave himself a terrible deal for New Hope, and then was able to argue for a better one after Empire.
Yeah, but having buyer's remorse. Or
Oh,
whatever,
okay. So I continued reading this article, and I'm not sure if we said this, but this is a lot worse than I thought.
Okay.
He did, instead of asking for royalties, he just asked for a solid amount of like a certain amount of money right up front, and basically said, and he said, this is his words: they offered me a percentage of their profits. I said no, there will be no profit at all. Give me all my money right now, the whole amount. It was
I mean,
stupid. I was
that's
stupid
your
enough to
fault.
leave everything in their hands because I didn't believe in their success. But who could foresee their success? I couldn't. Yeah, okay, so this is kind of a hopeless
You
lawsuit.
don't take the risk, you don't reap the reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically said I had all faith. It's kind of weird though, because he's like, I had no faith in them making a successful game, but also I sold the rights of my book to them. So he had to have
probably-
had some faith in them, or he wouldn't have sold the
Oh,
rights to his
he
books.
He doesn't need faith because he has money. He took the he took the money up front. So
Yeah.
what does he care if they fail? He has his money.
Yeah.
That was more important to him at the time. He didn't want to make the investment. He didn't
Yeah,
want to take
but
the
that's
risk.
man.
It's his fault.
Yep, this is his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for apparently he, like, if it was something where it would have been renegotiated per game, which apparently it wasn't. It was just like one contract, all the content up front. He made a bad deal. Get wrecked. All right. So now we went a little over time for news, so sorry about that, folks. We're gonna get into our main topic of the week. Doki.
Except for the fact that we have a new world record in Super Mario Bros. And it's the first ever 455.
That is
Well,
cool.
If it's a world record, I'd hope it's the first ever.
Yes.
It's the first ever 455.
I don't know what that means.
4 minutes 55 seconds.
Beat it, yeah.
Yeah. Like you could have another 455 and get a world record.
Right, because milliseconds exist.
Yes.
I know about those.
Yeah.
I can operate it in an oscilloscope.
Though there is something called the frame rule in Super Mario Bros, but we're definitely not going to get that technical right now.
But the frame rule doesn't apply to the last
It's
level.
a half a button press.
You're right. The frame rule does not apply to the last level.
8-4. Anyway, thanks for letting me talk about that.
So what makes this one special compared to the last one? What was the trick you used to get that extra second?
It was a trick on 1-2.
Can you please
I think it
explain
was
what
a flag-
1-2
it was
is?
a flagpole
Level
glitch on-
1, 2, like the levels in Mario.
Oh, you're Super Mario Bros. I forgot you're talking about 64 for some reason. Okay, I'm on your page now.
Yeah, no, it was a flagpole.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
a-
the original NES Super Mario.
I'm pretty sure he got it with the flagpole glitch on 1-2. And it
Okay.
was actually the first run that day that made it past 1-2 on world record pace.
So he just played perfect for the rest of the run. For those who don't know, just to quickly, Super Mario Bros. Is an extremely optimized speedrun. Like, ludicrously so. They are fighting for literally frames.
Now,
And also,
was it Super Mario Bros. Or the one on the NES? Or wait, was there?
it was
Oh,
the
Super
one
Mario
on
World.
Nintendo.
There's the
There's one-
arcade. Super
There's
Mario
one on the
Bros.
There's one on the Super Nintendo, I believe, Yoshi's Island.
Super Mario
Yoshi-
World?
jeez.
Are you thinking of Super Mario World?
Yes, that one.
Yeah,
God,
that's not
today
that
is
one.
not my day. One of those two, you can actually like break in and start writing your own
That's
code?
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
Super
Mario
Nintendo.
World.
Yeah, that's Mario World. The NES Mario Bros does not have anything quite that broken in it. That's used in the speedrun anyway.
Okay.
And basically, we're pretty sure that a 454 is never gonna happen. There's like one or two theoretical frame rule improvements, but like that's it. Like a 450,
Okay.
a 455 is gonna be the best time. It's gonna be a 455 like 0.3.
Now,
What-
are there
what-
any restrictions on this? Like, can you go straight from the first world and just like get a credits, and does that not count? Or does that
That would count if something like that was found. Yes.
okay? So
That
this
was.
is
I mean, I think
80%
there is a
survivability, you
credit.
call it?
There is a credits warp, but I think that
It takes longer to set
credits
that
warp
up.
takes longer.
Yep.
Okay.
Takes
'Cause you
longer to
need to
set
go
it
to-
up than
You
playing the
need to
game
go to
normally.
world -1, and then beat -1, and beating -1 takes a while because it's like an underwater level.
That's sort of a weird sentence to say, since it's not a level that actually exists. It's a level that is in random place in memory, which happens to be full of things that make water blocks.
The lost city.
You're more or
It's
less
not-
swimming through memory.
Yeah.
Things get really weird when you leave the normal memory space of the game.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there is a credits warp, and it's activated by
There is
going to
definitely a credits warp, but I
world
don't.
-1, and I think one of the reasons it's slower is that -1's a water world.
Yeah, and I think setting it
Or-
up takes like some serious time. Like I think you need to beat levels that you would normally skip in an any percent run with the whistles in order to set it up. But I could be wrong.
No,
Oh.
you could get to no. The guy was saying you can get there in 1-2. You can get to -1 in in level 1-2, and he explained like why he had to do something to avoid that specifically.
Interesting.
Because he did. I watched his he posted a breakdown of the speedrun.
Breakdown.
Pretty good watch. Where he explains like all the stuff that happened in the speedrun. It's a really crazy run.
Interesting. All right. Anyway, sorry for skipping you on that, Dan. We didn't talk
Okay.
about it last week because Dan wasn't on the show, and
None of us care. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it's like the biggest.
none of us care as much.
It's gonna be like the biggest piece of speedrunning news of the year. Like mainstream media was picking up on it. He was doing articles. I think Nintendo tweeted it out. Like it's a big deal.
it is.
Like you guys should have talked about it last week, but you know,
It wasn't even
whatever.
on our radar
It-
last week.
It happens every time there's a Super Mario Bros. World record
Yeah,
because they are rare and they are cool.
but this is the first 455.
Yeah. I don't know why that speedrun just doesn't excite me that much. I really can't explain it.
I
just-
didn't like it until I saw Summoning Salt's video on 4.2.
I mean,
And I'm like,
that's.
oh, this game's really cool.
I mean, yeah, the game's cool. I just think there are other games that are cooler.
I was never really cared
Yeah.
about speedruns.
There are other games that are cooler, but like it's still a cool game. It's not my favorite speedrun, but
that goes to Two Worlds.
Yeah. I definitely get more excited when I see an A press get shaved off from Super Mario 64.
that's
That
not
is
even
such
like
a strange
person.
sentence.
That's a task. Like I don't know. This is a human being sitting behind.
It's a human. These are human beings. I think it's different because it's not like it's the difference between like execution stuff and like problem solving, experimentation type.
Theory craft.
Yeah, very different categories of things. Anyway, moving
You
on.
need both for a speed run.
Speaking of programming,
Good segue.
Dan Salvato.
Dan Salvato, from Team Salvato, is
From 20XX fame.
yes, they made a little game called Doki Doki Literature Club. The game came out a little over a year ago at this point. And to sort of quote unquote celebrate that anniversary, we're going to talk about it. So this is our third installment second
It is.
installment of
Second, there you go.
Book Club, but for games, and we did not steal that title. So
We
On
came up with it
purpose.
independently.
we did
It was
come up
called
with
a
it
game-
independently.
Just call it Game Club or something.
No, people have
I-
done that. People have definitely done that one.
I also
people
don't
have,
like
people
that
have done
name.
our other one.
Yeah, I don't like that name either.
We'll come up with a good name in season 3.
Yeah, we'll just call it Doki Doki Game Club from now on. So
Please, no, I
I'd be okay with it.
I am not.
I would not be okay with it either, for the record.
That just
would
be
rather
I,
go-
I
would-
wanted
would
to get a
rather go with-
reaction, and I got a reaction. So
I would rather go with something stupid like The Legend of Games.
I don't know,
I'll
I-
take The Legend of Games over Doki Doki Game Club.
Yeah, for
I would
sure.
I actually take Doki Doki Game Club over the Legend of Games.
They're both awful.
They're both
They're-
terrible.
Yeah.
I think I'll take neither.
There is a 0% chance that we're going with either of those names.
But if we had to pick, we pick the less terrible one.
Yes. All right. Real quick before we begin, what this podcast is going to completely and utterly spoil this game, like entirely. If okay,
Someone
So-
just
so-
dropped their remote, and we're gonna beat them to a spoiler.
so
before
right
they can
now,
turn it off.
so right now, you might be looking at the screen right now and saying that this is not your kind of game, and that's fair. I think for most of us, this is not our kind of game. We would never have played this game if it wasn't for the fact that we were told that one, it's not what you think it is, and
Mhm.
I think we can all agree that that holds true.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
it
Like the Dark Souls of. I'm not gonna finish that.
all right. So
yeah, we're still in the non-spoiler part right now. by
yeah,
the
we're
way.
still in the non-spoiler part. The game
You
isn't
should
what
put
you think it
spoilers
is.
in
I
the
feel like there's a lot of people who know that. I probably should put spoiler in the title, and I will.
It's too late.
I mean, it's not.
Leave
It's
it.
now
We'll never
updated.
make it.
So, it's the game is not what you think it is. And you would kind of probably get that feeling the moment you open the game. I won't count this as a spoiler because this happens before you even start playing.
Yeah.
The game warns you that this game is disturbing, and if you are easily disturbed or you are a child, you should not play the game. Like, you should close it and just forget it. And they warn you numerous times about this. And also, if you look at the Steam page for this game, you might notice the tags, which say that this game is like a simulator, a dating sim, and also a psychological horror. So, take that as you will, as the spoiler-free part.
Wait. One last spoiler-free part. You know, for anyone still watching who's thinking about playing the game, let's just go around and give our score out of 10 for the game.
Score out.
Wow.
That's kind of
I-
hard.
I'd say we do that at the end.
But the end comes after the spoiler part.
I know what Dan. Yeah. We
All right.
give like a summary of what we think
Without
about the game.
saying that,
No, we
I-
don't say anything about the game. We just give it our score out of 10.
I say
Okay,
without a. Okay, I'm going to try that.
So I'm gonna give it 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I would like to
Let's go.
preface Dan's 6.5 out of 10, by the way, by he going into this game thought it was a solid 1 out of 10 or less.
Yes.
So
I'd put it-
I would
I'd
like to
put it
say
at
that
6 out of 10.
that is definitely gets the award for most improved from initial impressions to finishing the game. So if that tells you anything,
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. We'll just go down the line. I would say 7 out of 10.
I'll say 8 out of 10.
7.
All right, so I'll
Just say
preface
your
this.
score, Mitch.
So
Say your score and move on.
Just say the score and move on.
5.
That is higher than I expected.
That's higher than I expected too.
I was going to explain it, but you told me not to.
Okay.
I'll
it's not-
explain it in the spoiler part.
Yeah.
Well, it has nothing to do with the game. It's more so what I was going to explain the numbers and what they mean to me. So look, I'll just take 1 minute to do that because I'm not talking about the game at all. Basically, a 7.5 is a average game that functions, and a 5 is a game that functions.
Oh, you're doing like a grading scale where like no.
Where C is average.
Yeah,
That's not how scales out of 10 typically work.
that's how mine works, which is why I wanted to express that.
So really,
So,
adjusted to
it's-
scale,
it's
yours
like
is
a
like a
3 out of
3.5.
Sure.
A 3.5 to 3 on our scale.
So that's about where I thought you would put it.
Because it doesn't have bugs and it doesn't crash.
It does not. This
It's a
game
solid-
is
it's a
rock solid
piece of
stable.
programming.
It is a very well programmed game.
And
Yeah.
one person did this. Like
Yeah.
coded the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a feat.
Yeah.
I think it deserves points for that.
Yes, as a piece of programming, it is certainly pretty cool.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, if
And
you
also
should
that's
probably,
the
if you have even the slightest amount of interest in this game, you should probably play it.
Go
Also,
in
my-
blind.
Go
my
in as
scale
blind as possible.
IGN uses, so keep that in mind.
The last piece of thing is, if you continue listening to this podcast and we spoil it, it will ruin this game almost
Yeah.
completely.
Kind of like Undertale.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do not want this game spoiled.
Speaking
So,
of which,
that is the end of the no spoiler section. Now I'm going to quickly summarize the first part of the game. So the way this is going to work is, this game is more or less can be split into 3 acts. I'm going to first do a quick synopsis of Act 1, which then we will turn to open discussion for everyone in the podcast. And I like that picture of a spoiler. It took me way longer than it should have to understand what that was a picture of.
I didn't even get it, but okay.
So, Doki Doki Literature Club, and then you guys please jump in if I'm missing what you think is an important detail, but this is going to be a very high-level overview of the first act.
Ooh.
Without
as
trying to
high
get...
level as we can get without being Mark Brown.
So the first act is. I want to add in one detail that you're probably gonna leave out.
Sure.
It's absolute garbage.
Okay.
Nope.
So, all right. So, let me quick explain.
He's right. He's
Nope.
right.
He's not wrong. So,
Nope.
what I will say is,
That means I got the reaction it was supposed to.
yeah. And that is sort of a minor spoiler, but, well, I mean, we are in the...
Looking into like the community and the subreddit, because I did a bunch of research after I beat the game. I don't. That may have been the intention, was for you to not like the first act, but that's not how the fans took the game.
That's the point. It's. I'm just gonna say weebs. For weebs, they're gonna enjoy it, and for people like you, you're gonna hate it.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
intentional.
this is true.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so, let's just get this out of the way. The first act of the game is very much a weeby dating sim with crappy writing, and you're a harem. All right, we're just gonna make that's
wouldn't-
you're not quite
I mean,
that's a
harem
bit of a
level, but
stretch.
like,
I wouldn't call it crappy writing.
well, okay, I'm gonna crappy writing
would
with an
call it crappy
asterisk. I'm gonna say crappy writing with an asterisk.
Like you could
It's
say
cr-
it was intentional, but it did not set up the next part very well at all.
Wow, I
Some-
completely disagree with that one. But
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I
but-
disagree. Not completely, but somewhat.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as Dan. Like, some of it was unnecessary, and I do think the first section was a little longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yes. Although I took like the first section took me the longest to play, because whenever I came across like a piece of dialogue that I was bothered by, I'd write it down.
So that was like half the dialogue.
So
All right,
the
before
entire-
we
After
start,
dialogue, I was like, I hate this line because of this.
okay,
We
before
can't
we
play
start
the game on stream.
before we
don't have the time.
start discussing too much, I'm gonna quickly give a synopsis of what the first act is like, so then we can set up context. So basically, you are best, and I'll use the visuals I have here on screen. You are best friends with this girl here. Her name's Sayori.
on the left,
Yeah.
the ribbon.
Yep. She's
Hotel
left.
character.
She's the third character. Or oh,
What?
What?
no, the
You
far
just-
left.
that's
Holy
Monica.
crap, that's Monica. All right.
God.
What? Well, okay.
Come on, Jake,
They all
pull
look
it
the same.
together.
So,
Really don't.
okay, Monica and Sayori look pretty similar.
I mean, just go by the color of their hair. That's what I always did. I think 2 of them are the same. One of them's a kid. Though.
Yeah, the two that are the same are the one I'm talking about. Sayori and Monica, their hair colors are similar. But anyway, my bad.
What?
I don't know why I messed up. That was literally just. All right, no point. So you're best friends with Sayori. She convinces you to join this literature club that she's a part of, and in the literature club, which you're kind of apprehensive about joining, you meet these 3 women who you find
Girls.
attractive.
Yeah, girls.
And who all
Girls,
fall
yes.
in love with you
Yes,
despite
you're in
you
high
being
school.
the
Definitely
shittiest
not
human
adults.
being on the planet.
Yeah, you are not a great person at all. Like you're kind of a dick. You're kind
You're
of
an esport,
you,
a raging esport.
The
You-
dialogue in the game is that you're
Kind of a
perfectly fine
spur.
with going by the getting by the average and just playing anime and games.
Yep,
Which
and
is not the average, by the way. That's pathetic.
Well, he meant just doing what's need to be done in
I think
school.
he's looking for coasting by.
Yeah, coasting by. That's
yeah.
the word.
he coasts and he isn't extremely social and whatever. So
Right.
here you are with all these girls, and you're trying to get in one of their pants more or less.
I'll have you know, they don't wear pants. They wear very short skirts.
Yes. So hold your comments, Julian.
Okay.
Because I do want to try to give this very, very high level. So, okay, you're interested romantically in perhaps getting closer with one of these women. There
But
you
not
go.
You say
one. It could be
multiple
any.
times.
Yes.
You say multiple times, this club, basically you say this club sucks, but the girls are cute, so I'm going to stay in it.
Yes.
That's a line of internal dialogue that basically happened.
That is
Yes.
what he says.
That is what
I
he
think
says.
there was one
So-
line that captured it perfectly. It was like, "I grasp at the lowest level thing I can to make a connection."
Yeah.
I don't remember the quote exactly. It was something like that.
I probably wrote it down, but my notes got deleted. So my notes for the first act of the game got deleted, unfortunately.
Which, foreshadowing.
Those are
Anyway.
the best one.
So basically, you're in this club, and it's about literature. So they're all reading different books and stuff, and they decide in the first meeting that you're there for, like, hey, maybe we should all go home and tonight write a poem and bring it in and share it with each other. And so and then you do this now for the next about 3 days. Basically, the only part of the game you quote unquote play. This is a visual novel, by the way, to be very clear. There is some interaction, but it's minimal. And it's mostly with choosing dialogue options occasionally and writing of the poems.
Yeah.
So each day you write a poem, you bring it in. They just kind of skip past the school day. You might walk to school with Sayori or whatever, or talk to her. But then usually you just go into the club. You start to learn more about these girls' personalities and start getting a little bit closer with them. You share the poems. Through each day, the poems for some of the girls start taking on a bit of a darker theme, particularly Sayori. Very much, particularly Sayori.
I mean, also when you pick poems, you notice some of the words that you pick.
I feel like that's more of a specific detail, but yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when you write the poems, you have there's words on the screen that you get to choose from. Some are kind of dark. Some are...
Essentially, what it
Yeah.
is you pick one of the girls you want to romance, and then you have to play a bit of a puzzle to unlock them. Because women are nothing but puzzles to be solved.
The first statement you said was kind of accurate, I guess.
Yeah. So, this continues on, and the club is sort of working towards there's this big event at the school coming up where all the clubs get to show off their stuff. Each club gets to set up a room and try to recruit new people.
The festival.
Yeah, the festival. Thank you.
We did that at IIT.
Yeah, we did.
People stole Joe's amiibos.
And anyway, so basically the game is working up towards this. In that, at some point, involves you having the choice between you want to go and work with someone on their preparations for the festival, whether it's making cupcakes for one of the girls, making posters for another girl.
Yuri.
I was trying to say high level, because I can throw out names, but they're gonna forget them.
What do you mean by high level?
Yeah, this isn't very high level.
I'm trying to figure
Okay,
it out.
okay. I'll try to go faster.
I
Basically,
Just
You mean on like a general basis?
yeah.
No?
You start getting some slight branching choices. You can choose which one of these girls you want to go. You want to go romance.
and you
Tried
choose- you
romance
select them
further.
through your poems.
Yes, and
Right.
now we get to a point where Sayori starts to open up to you that she's become severely depressed and that she
Oh.
likes you and wants things to keep going and be happy, and how like she wanted you to join the club, and but now you're in the club and now she doesn't like it, and that's the super basic.
She was
version of
always
that.
depressed. You just didn't see it.
Yeah, she
completely
opens up
missed
to you that she's depressed, even though you never knew. Throughout the whole game, she's super peppy and happy, and
Yeah.
Well,
that
okay,
kind of
so
thing.
the other characters actually point this out. She's only super peppy and happy around you.
Around
When
you.
You're not around,
Yeah.
she'll like be her depressed self. And so you're
Right.
like, wait, what do you mean Sayori like isn't normally like this? She's always like this around me.
Yep.
And like Monica's kind of like, yeah, she's into you. Go fuck her.
Yep.
Like,
and this next little part I'll give as a specific detail. But then this is the day before the festival. Basically, she comes to you again after you do your hangout with one of the girls. Still depressed and all of that, and having that conversation with you, and that she like kind of loves you and stuff. And you're basically given a dialogue option. You're given a dialogue option that gives
Meaningless
you
dialogue option.
that gives you two choices that basically say, one, you tell her that you love her, or two, you tell her that she's your best friend in the world. It's basically
I opted for option 2.
that she's your.
Yep.
I don't want to talk about it.
So,
Go ahead.
so that puts us at the end of Act 1.
Is that the end of Act 1?
That's how. That's
Yeah.
what I feel is the good
Yeah,
cutting off
and then-
point. That's what
And your
what I
saves
think.
get deleted in Act 2.
And she's a Halloween decoration.
All right, before totally giving away Act 2, can we talk about Act 1?
Okay. Just before we continue, we've done some spoilers already, and we've obviously
Yes.
completely spoiled Act 1. If you heard our spoiler warning and thought to yourself, I don't care, I'm going to urge you a second time here. The game takes a complete turn at this point. So if this doesn't sound like your type of game, and you're like, this sounds awful, I don't want to play it,
You're probably right.
I would say stop watching this video now and go play it. If you're like, oh, I'm a fucking weeb.
Oh,
and...
we should note that the game is free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
game's
it's
free. So you don't have to
Um,
pay anything for this.
If you're like this game sounds like my type of game, then you should stop watching the video and go play it. This is gonna be like, we've already been doing spoilers, but this is your super duper last minute spoiler warning where you could still turn back and not have the game totally ruined.
Yeah, and I would also like you to keep in mind the guy who's saying this right now, like, was
He
he was
hates
hating on this game. Oh yeah, he hates anime, he hates culture, he hates any game that's even remotely like this one, and he's telling you to go play this game. So if that's not an endorsement, and Mitch obviously is the other side of that spectrum, there will be two. There will be both sides. We cannot promise you will like the game, but it is an experience that I think
I don't
is worth
dislike the
having.
game.
I'm gonna
That's
read
how it
one of
works.
Halloween
my,
decoration.
You
I'm
said
gonna
it
read-
works.
one of my.
I can't say that
notes
about all
that I
games.
saw.
Yeah. Also, to be clear, like what we've said so far, I had that basically spoiled for me before playing this game, and that had almost no impact in my experience. So take that as you will.
So at one point during Act 2, I wrote down in my notes, not sure if I'm completely won over, but I can't say I regret sticking with it.
That's cool.
That was something that
That's
I wrote
cool.
down. So this is your last warning. Seriously, if you have any intention of playing this game, leave right now.
Yep. And I will add 2 more exclamation points to the spoilers in the title. Dan,
See-
post another spoiler. So,
See, I will say that I wasn't impressed with what came after, but I don't regret sticking around.
interesting.
I
I
just
will
would-
say you got one detail wrong with the whole picking one character to do the festival preparations with. You choose Natsuki or Yuri from a dialogue option, not from the poems.
Oh
like-
no, but you get closer to one of those two through
Yeah, through
dialogue,
poems.
through the poems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I sort of left out the poems as being important at all, or I thought I did.
Okay.
Because
Oh,
they
you
have
also
very
don't-
limited
Are
impact.
the poems important? I thought that was like how you. Oh, I don't know.
If you want to 100% the game, yeah.
Okay, I don't want to 100% the game. I don't.
Yeah.
I had installed it.
I want to
After
point
it
out.
ended and it was like, please reinstall the game. I was like, no, and I looked and it was installed. I was like, you lied to me.
Okay, I want to point out one more thing in Act 1 before we move on. The game, in sometimes a subtle way, sometimes a not very subtle way, sort of suggests that you should, at moments where you have these branching paths, save your game and try one or the other. Or, like, if you regret something you did or whatever, revert your save and do it again. The game gives you like a ton of save slots, like 100. So there's lots and lots of save slots. So that's like your first clue. Like when I saw that there was like pages and pages of save slots, I started saving, like making a bunch of different saves, not really knowing what was ahead.
Interesting.
Huh.
I
Like-
didn't do that.
After
I mean,
playing
it's
Skyrim so
supposed to
much,
do
I have
that.
trained myself not to save scum, so I actually never made that connection.
I mean,
Like you stick with your choices.
I mean,
that's-
there is literally a point in the game where one of the characters was like, if only there was like a way to
Yeah.
just like revert back
Oh.
to an earlier place in
I
time.
thought they were just insulting
Well-
people who can't stick with their decisions.
There's a poem that Monica says "Save me and load me."
I actually never picked up on that.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I'll admit, Monica's poems, I couldn't read her shitty handwriting half the time. Like from because
You're recording handwriting.
Yuri had the worst handwriting. I had the most trouble reading her poems.
Yeah, Yuri had the worst handwriting.
really, I
Which
had
is
I had the
actually-
hardest time reading Monica's handwriting for some reason.
I just want to say one of the only parts about the first act of the game that I liked was Natsuki's first poem.
I actually died laughing.
You're
People
gonna
can
have
cry,
to
and that's
remind
about
me.
it.
Monkeys can
It's
climb,
so fun,
crickets
eagles
can
can
fly,
fly.
horses can race, owls can seek, cheetahs can run, eagles can fly, people can try, but that's about it. Like, even like that was I liked that poem. I thought it was like it was basically everything Natsuki says afterwards. It's like, oh, it's uses really simple language and stuff, but it conveys, powerful and complex emotions, like about how humans are really, fragile and have to deal with the existentialism and no other, like, monkeys can just climb trees and crickets can just jump around. Humans are the only ones who have to deal with existential horror and like the fleetingness of life.
You clearly don't own a cat.
See, I missed that because I was too busy
every
laughing.
morning, my cat has this existential crisis that there's not food in the bowl. And it's
I
a
don't think that's an
horrible
existential
idea that I just have to get up at 5:30 and feed him, or else it's the end of the world.
There's a meaning behind each of the poems that they write. I don't know if you guys caught that or not.
Well,
Kinda.
they kind of
I-
try to tell you that they all have meaning, but
Yeah.
yes, there's like to some degree another level, but we'll get into that when we talk about Acts 2 and 3.
Right.
Yeah, I liked Natsuki's first poem. Like
yeah.
legitimately, when I was playing through, I was like, "This is awful. This is awful. This is awful. This is pretty okay."
Yeah.
And then,
Speaking of the poems, at the end of Act 1, it says, you've unlocked a special poem. Would you like to read it? I answered no, and it didn't make me read anything. What was that actually supposed to be?
We can talk about that. I think that's better for Act 2. Yeah,
That's Act 2.
See, I answered no to all of them, but one of them it did make me read something. I forget what, but
All I'll say for that is it's random. So
It's random.
okay.
yeah, I just pulled them all up.
yeah, and yeah, any links that you guys have for some if you have like a link that has all of them or whatever, if you could send them to me and I'll bring them up once we're talking about them.
Wait,
Uh,
do you want a link to the special poems?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So it wasn't important.
no.
Not really.
Not really. But okay,
I mean-
back to Act 1. I know none of us are going to have a ton to talk about with this, I feel.
I have a lot to talk about for Act 1.
I'd like to move on, but okay.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't want to spend too much time on Act 1, but Julian, you can say a quick piece.
Okay.
The best part.
My only complaint about Act 1 is that, yeah, it does kind of go on for too long, but
That's your
like I really like I replayed some of the game before the podcast and I don't regret like doing all that stuff in Act 1 because it sets up all the characters. There's a ton of foreshadowing for future events to come. The poems have like a deeper meaning. A lot of the dialogue has a deeper meaning. Like the whole dialogue with Yuri, and she's talking about the portrait of Malkov. That's alluding to something else. There's just the game is a lot deeper than what you make it than what it seems, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can agree to that somewhat. I think. Okay, I appreciate one thing I appreciate about the first half that I didn't think I liked about the game was the monotony. Where every day follows this exact same, like this very predictable formula, and like the background music is the same, and
the background music. I can talk about that too. That's for later acts.
Yeah. Music in this game was fly. Not gonna lie.
One track.
It was
very fitting.
It was very fitting. Yes, that is the. Okay, I actually I'll wait until we're talking about Act 2 before I say why I appreciate the monotony of the first act so much. But
it's a critique.
It is a critique and also something that I think is very important to the game, and I'm glad that they did it that way.
I feel the game would be completely different if Act 1 wasn't like that. You know, like what would you change about Act 1 to make it better?
Take it away.
See, like,
you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Set up for Act 2.
I mean, I didn't care about any of the characters after Act 1. I wanted them all to die, and I got my wish.
I didn't.
So my issues with Act 1, one change I would have made is I would have made it take place in college because sexualizing high schoolers is not okay.
I'm with you on that. This was
like,
going with the genre that it's kind of poking fun at. So that's
exactly.
That's kind of I get why but I get why they did it.
I wouldn't call this sexualizing high schoolers.
Okay, well, we're not getting into that debate.
I mean, you look no further than that how their shirts perfectly curve around their boobs on.
They're supposed to look. That's
the genre.
But the genre is sexualizing. But that
doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, that doesn't make it okay at all.
Like, if you're being coy about it, it doesn't mean you're not still doing it.
That is true.
Yeah, no,
let's move past this debate because there's no reason to have it.
I would disagree. There's no reason, but yes, let's move past.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here today.
It could be.
Yeah, I have issues with Act 1 in that the dialogue was, problematic. I don't know. It was just like.
I mean, I feel like the game could have just been better if they made an attempt to make these people real people, and then everything that comes later would have hit so much harder.
No,
that's okay. Never mind.
I disagree with that too.
Yeah, I actually disagree.
I think the game is parroting the wrong genre.
I think that if they made the characters too real, that would ruin Act 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
My number one change would be make them all college students. Would be my number one change. I have other changes I would make. I disliked a lot of the dialogue. I thought a lot of the dialogue was, problematic. To be honest,
like what do you mean?
Yeah, describe the word problematic.
Go on.
I had notes. I had so much to say about this, and I didn't want to play through the first act again to get my notes again. But during Act 2, you kind of replay through part of Act 1. Spoiler alert. So there was a line that I was like, so one of the lines is, so if writing poems is the price I need to pay in order to spend every day with these beautiful girls, that's turning the girls into a prize that he obtains for.
Or when you first introduced to them, they're labeled Girl 1 and Girl 2.
That's
because you
that's because you don't know their names.
Because you don't know their name.
Okay, come on.
That's actually an unreasonable nitpick, Mitch. Like, I'm on your page.
I thought it was just funny.
Like, that's how that kind of stuff happens. If you play like any RPG with dialogue, until you learn a character's name, they're just guy or girl
Yeah.
or woman or whatever. That's not.
Or
an
it just
issue.
says nothing. Or
Um,
sometimes you just automatically know their names.
I take Natsuki's
No.
finger and put it in my mouth, licking off the icing. You really shouldn't do that kind of thing to girls unless you really like them. And then my internal dialogue is, what kind of question is she asking me just like that? Like, what do you talk? You fucking licked icing off her finger. What the fuck? Yeah, she should be like,
What,
dude,
the
don't do
e-sport?
that.
Maybe he's inept.
She should definitely be like, yeah, why'd you do that? Do you have a crush on me? I don't know. Like, just,
Yeah,
it was too much for me. Maybe it's not too much for everyone, but it was too much for me personally.
I agree.
To handle.
I just did not care enough. Like I wasn't invested enough either way. I feel like I didn't feel like I was this character. I just felt like I was just being an omniscient person watching it from a distance.
I felt like Dan Salvato wanted me to put myself in this character's shoes, and I couldn't because this character was a self-centered,
Exactly.
lazy piece of shit who like.
Piece of e-sport.
Yeah, no. Like, it very much felt like Dan Salvato. One of the things is I felt insulted as a player because I was like, oh, Dan Salvato thinks this is what his average player aspires to, is to stay up late watching anime and coast by on life. And, like, I feel like...
I mean, some of
that
them do.
describes a lot of people.
Yeah, and some of them do.
That's good. That's another point. You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't relate
mean,
with what he's trying to get you
the
to relate
genre is certainly full of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I really feel like this game's parroting the wrong genre.
I'm confused by that statement.
Yeah, I am too.
If the characters are more real, as I said, it would have made everything that comes later hit
The
harder.
characters have to
That-
be fake in order for...
I'm
But that
so
doesn't-
confused.
Doesn't even-
That makes no sense to me.
I am so confused.
But okay, I think the best way to get closer to understanding this is are we ready to start talking about Act 2?
Anyone have any final comments? I
No.
feel like we didn't give
Um,
Larone or Mitch a chance to talk.
No, I talked. I'm good.
Mitch
Okay.
talk.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was too long. Maybe a little long.
Yeah, I think it could have been one day shorter. I think is about.
Yeah, that's,
Where I'm
that's
at.
like my only critique about it.
Like honestly, I think like day 2 was more or less pointless. Or it could have like the aspects of day 2 that mattered could have been pushed into day 1 and 3, and it would have still worked.
You know, day two
Would
had
the
really
would
good
the
story.
monotony have really hit you? Took a whole day away.
Yeah, I think 3 days is enough.
3 days.
Yeah, aren't
Like-
there 4?
Oh right, the extra one was.
The festival, yeah. Or the
Or-
festival preparations. Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday.
Oh, and when Crazy Knife Girl and you cut yourself, half the chat already knew that she was gonna lick your finger, because apparently that's a trope. Is that true?
I don't know about all that. I, for some odd reason, kind of felt like it was coming, but I don't really know why.
I had no idea that was coming.
So, I picked Natsuki for that day. Wait, who did you guys go with for the weekend?
Yuri.
Both Yuri and Natsuki. I did both because I'd saved.
Oh.
Second playthrough, I did both because I was trying 100%.
But yeah, no, I did Natsuki, and the reason I picked Natsuki, and you probably think I'm lying.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not.
almost don't believe you.
The reason I picked Natsuki is because it takes more effort to make cupcakes than it does to make posters, so she needed help more. I was like, I don't want to do either of these things, so I'll just pick the most utilitarian option, and cupcakes are harder to make than posters.
So really, you're going after 14-year-olds. That's what I'm getting from this.
I mean, you do hurt yourself pretty bad making posters. Did you get hurt making cupcakes?
You do not get hurt making
No.
cupcakes.
All right. Well, maybe you were wrong.
Maybe I was
Yes,
wrong.
apparently.
She
Should've
doesn't
gone with Yuri.
secretly have a knife collection, like
Yeah.
knives.
That's true. Yuri does have a secret knife collection.
Abort.
She's still best
No-
friend.
Damn eyes. I just want to look at you. Okay.
Yeah. So she licks blood off your fingers, so that's weird.
Weird.
Yeah, see, that's another like foreshadowing thing. You
It
you
is.
know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty ham-fisted.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Another important piece of foreshadowing. I guess this might work as a transition into Act 2, because this happened in Act 1, and it was a piece of foreshadowing that I hated at the time, and then liked when I realized it was foreshadowing. I thought Sayori's depression felt really unauthentic because it came on really quickly, and just didn't feel like, not from a reality standpoint. I feel like depression can definitely be that way, but from a storytelling standpoint, it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, it was just like, oh, it's time for this character to be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want to make it clear, this is a gripe. Like, storytelling doesn't need to emulate real life, and oftentimes when it tries to, it fails. So I'm not saying real depression can't look like this. I'm saying from a storytelling perspective, it makes the story weaker.
Yeah, and to give a quick, like, the depression sort of went, like, as far as the storytelling version of the depression, or like letting you become aware of it, it was more or less like the poems each day from her started getting a little bit darker, but like nothing super crazy intense. And then she starts acting a little strange around you, and then and then when you talk to her on Sunday, she's comes out being like, I'm super depressed, and like, and all that stuff. And then that night she's like even like worse than she was before. And then transitioning into Act 2, the next morning she's dead.
Well, she kills herself.
She kills herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
So if
I
you
was going
tell
for
her
one
you
word
love her,
here.
What happens if you tell her that you love her? So I did not tell her.
She still kills
I
herself.
told her-
She's still.
I know that, but why?
Because she doesn't understand why she still feels sad.
Right, she's like,
after
oh, this
becoming-
should be the happiest moment of my life, but it like just isn't. Like
Yeah.
it feels even worse. Like, I feel worse now that you said that. Like,
And you get a cutscene if you say I love you.
yeah, there's
Oh.
dialogue. There's dialogue that sort of.
Another thing about Act 1 I forgot to mention. It kind of seems like you're supposed to pick Sayori from 100%ing it. I don't know if did you feel the same way, Jake?
That you're
Or-
supposed to, like, it felt like you're supposed to pick her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my other critique. It didn't like I kind of don't like
Kinda
it when
railroaded you into Sayori.
yeah. It's not as
I
it's
felt
not bad.
super-
It's kind of there.
I felt super railroaded into Yuri in Act 2, which was absolutely intentional, and you were supposed to be aware of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna start giving a quick description of what happens at the start of Act 2 here. So basically, it's the morning of the festival. You wake up. You guys are starting to set up in the classroom for the festival, but Sayori has yet to show up. You go to her house to see what's up. She doesn't answer the door, but you can go in. You work your way up to the bedroom. You open up the door, and you find her hung by a noose.
I
You want
disagree with
visual
you.
aids?
Hmm?
You want visual aids or not?
Oh yeah. This is a good time for a visual aid for that.
I think this is the end of Act 1, but not the beginning of Act 2.
I think it's the beginning of Act 2. So yeah, you find her. Wow, that's a really low resolution image, but
Might be.
yeah, you find her in her room, hanging like this, and at this point, so your inner monologue starts going, guilt, like you'd expect. Like, oh, I wish there's something I could do, if only there was,
If only you could reload.
if only you could reload and stuff.
Yeah.
But now, if you were to, so I'm not sure how many people actually went right away and tried to reload their save.
Well, all your saves are deleted.
Yeah, if you
Right.
go,
Wait, really?
that is also
Yeah.
a very low resolution
Oh.
image. Holy cow!
I put it on large, and I just grabbed a. Fine. This one's actually high res.
All right.
And
I
if
think
it's
it's just
not-
Twitch doing it.
I don't
I
know.
don't think this is low res. This is just
No, there we go. That one's actually like full size.
Alright.
So yeah, you find her like this, and then as this other image shows, the background of the game and stuff starts kind of glitching out, and if you go to your saves, all your saves are deleted. So then you start, like, after that little your inner monologue dialogue and stuff, the game starts glitching out harder and harder and harder until you get thrown back into the menu of the game, but some things aren't quite right. So basically, your only option is new game, though the text is highly distorted and messed up.
Sayori's picture is
Sayori is missing. So this picture that you see on my image with the 4 girls, Sayori is suddenly not there.
She's not there. She's replaced by like just random blocks from
yeah.
the other 3 characters.
Yeah, like random gargled up memory. If you've got any visual aids for that handy, Dan, feel free. Any of you guys, if you have visual aids for any of the stuff as I say them, feel free to dump them in. So the game starts being very glitchy, particularly around Sayori. So then basically you start the game over again. But this
before you
time,
go into that, the game, there's also a chance that when you load up the game, it'll say things like Project M died for this, and you'll see like different text files in the game's folder, like happy thoughts, or this is a picture of like Sayori's like head after she kills herself, and yeah. All right, go ahead.
Okay. We can get into that stuff once we start talking about more specifics. I just want to try to run through real quick. Well, okay, this one I'm going to go in a little more detail because the details are kind of important just to get the experience.
Is like where the horror is, and the horror is in the details. It's not like the overarching thing isn't too scary.
So, the game starts being all glitchy, and so you start the game over again, and the game is flowing exactly as it did the first time around, with Sayori totally ripped out of the story.
Well, it's slightly different in that.
Yeah, there are some slight differences.
I wrote down. This is like before the creepy stuff starts happening. I think Yuri's dialogue is different towards you, where she's like a little bit more into you.
Mm-hmm. But even before that, like when I said the game introduces you as being Sayori's best friend, this time it introduces you as walking to school with gargled text, and basically it starts off like basically exactly the same, but with her cut out and replaced with blobs of text, and you not actually having dialogue with another person, like it's just like gargled nonsense, and you're not exactly talking to it. But as second act progresses, she gets cut out more and more and more, where she gets referenced less and less and less. Also, occasionally you'll see, glitchy pictures of like pieces of her show up in either other people's faces or just in the background, or sometimes you just literally see like that her hanging thing sort of appears every now and again, like as if you're like remembering it from a second life sort of feeling, I guess is the best way I can describe that.
Well, yeah, there's one of the pictures in the classroom gets replaced with Sayori hanging herself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of stuff like that.
And it's just like I think I'm not sure if the music from this point on is the same song but in a minor key, or if it only sometimes cuts to the minor key.
It just gets worse, and it gets more and more messed up as you go forward.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah, the music will start to like Dan said, change to a minor key or get slightly distorted, or they mess with the audio a lot. And even things like the sound of the dialogue box advancing is sometimes messed with.
And my favorite is they will sometimes just have long stretches of silence.
Yeah, that too, which is very unsettling.
Sometimes Monica appears in front of the text box. Sometimes when the characters like go into frame, they glitch out before they go into frame.
Right, they'll glitch out, or like at times their eyes or mouth will get replaced with static or other such things.
Looking eyes and mouth.
That's specifically with Natsuki.
Yeah.
And basically, your sense of security is thrown completely out the window.
You're just like waiting for the you'll get long stretches where it's just a dating sim again, and you're just waiting for the next creepy thing to happen, and it just
Right.
won't happen for forever, and you'll be like just on the edge of your seat, like, okay, when's the next scare coming?
Yeah.
It is very unsettling, and it scared the
Yeah.
crap out of me while I was playing.
Yeah. Even talking about it and remembering it now is giving me chills.
Yeah.
It's
See, I saw it as, you know, you go from one creepy bit to back to the dating scene. It's like, well, I guess that was pointless too.
I feel like you played the game too quickly to really absorb what was happening.
I will admit I probably did not give it a fair chance. No, not probably. I didn't. But again, it works. I've said some good things about it.
Yeah.
all
I
right.
don't
Now be
really
quiet.
have a problem with it. Yeah, okay. Carry on.
Yeah, it is hard to sort of give a description of what Act 2 is like without you actually playing it. But it's unsettling. There's sometimes just, like Julian said, stretches of silence or text that's just omitted. Or sometimes you'll have text where it's normal except for like one or two words which have been like overlapped with like handwritten or like bolded text that looks like it came from a different source and it was trying to change the dialogue as you were seeing it. Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
What else is there to say about Act 2? You even go like write a poem and stuff. Like you go through a few days.
Yeah, and the poem, the poem will randomly have like broken text put into it.
Yep, broken text or just.
So like as one of the dialogue options, it'll just be like a random string of like the weird ASCII characters that don't normally appear.
Mm-hmm.
And I clicked on it once.
Oh my God, Julian, that
That's
picture
scary.
is so creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that you can see. Just like you're having a normal conversation with this girl, and her eyes and mouth go black, and you can't tell in this case, but they're moving and stuff.
Yeah.
Which also important. This whole game, the pictures that you always look at are always perfectly static. There's never any motion in this game
Well,
other than the
up and
text.
down and left and right.
Yeah, there's occasional like bounce up and down or left and right, but there's no like real like animation. It's just like these cutouts of the girls on a backdrop. Occasionally they bounce up and down or left and right, or just like transitions for the most part. And then all of a sudden in Act 2 they start to throw like glitchy animations on them and things that are moving in a very creepy way. And
Yuri is all over you. She wants the D bad.
Yep. Yeah,
Yuri and
she's
Natsuki's personalities change.
Yuri is a lot shyer in the first act than in the second act. In the second act, she sort of acts shy until she's with you, and then she's just like really forward, like
I wanna bathe in your body
ridiculously
heat.
forward. And it's kind of like in a kind of creepy way too, like not like just I'm really into you, just
I
like
mean-
no, I want to like get inside your skin and like fuck you from the inside. That's not esports, but I had to say it that way.
Doesn't she like say that about your pen or something?
Yeah, she took. Well, on the final day, I forget if it's the final or second day in Act 2, but she says that she takes your pen home and she
Yeah.
does things to it.
I somehow don't remember that.
This
I have an
definitely
issue
happened.
I think that issue would be completely fixed if they were in college, but I have an issue with that bit. Although,
Fair enough.
to be fair, The Exorcist did it first, so it's kind of it's already happened in media, and it's not an issue with like this game specifically. It shouldn't have happened in The Exorcist. Like you shouldn't use underage people performing sex acts, even if it's for the sake of creepiness.
Yeah, I think in that case it would have like the creepiness that they were trying to give you would have been the same regardless of the age of the person. Like it would have worked if she was an adult. Like it's like you know what I mean. Like from the storytelling perspective, they didn't need her to be a kid. Like that wasn't the point. It was just not. It was just bad that she was.
This game would have been a lot less problematic if they were in college, and I don't think it would have lost much from being in college.
I disagree.
What does it lose? Just out of curiosity, what does it lose by the characters all being college age?
I think it just loses the genre that it's kind of parroting
That's parroting, yeah.
because it's always high school.
Yep.
I think that's the only thing, but to me that doesn't matter that much because, but I can understand that side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we've talked about that little debate a lot, and we're coming close. This podcast will go a little bit long this week.
I feel like Dan's swapping to my side here.
I don't think
No.
Dan's opinions have changed much.
No, my opinion has always been the first part's problematic and bad. The second part doesn't undo that, but the second part's good.
Nah, I meant that it's parroting the wrong genre.
So confused by that.
Yeah, what genre do you want it to parody?
I don't know.
Because I think the genre, like the college girl genre, doesn't exist. I mean,
I just mean not the anime visual novel genre.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's
You meant, but
Because it's impossible to make a real connection with these characters.
okay, so that's what I wanted to get into real quick. The impact of this game, I do not think is supposed to be from the suicides, like
no.
at all.
No.
Like you're not
No.
supposed to you're not supposed to feel anything really when Sayori kills herself. Like that's not the point of the game. You're not supposed to make a deep connection with Sayori and then mourn her loss. I don't think that was the point.
I mean, I think that was part of the reason why you're supposed to hate the next person is because she orchestrated all of that. Like she took these characters you kind of met in the first day, then did some stuff to them to drive them to suicide, and then started gloating about it later.
Are we talking about Act 3 already?
Yeah, you kind
I
of skipped
was
ahead there.
Well, you wanted me to explain.
Okay.
That's my explanation. That's why I thought that was what they're going for.
Did you guys
See, I
see the
didn't have any
scene-
connection to the characters who died,
think
and that did not take away from my experience of the game.
I think the emotional aspect of this game was not that important. I think you were supposed to have your sense of security violated.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is the purpose of the game.
Yep.
Not
Well,
to be
Act 2.
like, oh, this suicide is affecting me on an emotional level. That's not scary. The game's supposed to be scary. And there's nothing scary about a character you dying, or you care about, like, killing themselves. Or there's nothing horrific. There is something scary, but it's...
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I get where you're going at.
Yeah.
And the game's supposed to be scary. And the game does that by messing with your sense of security.
Yeah, and I think of any game that has this kind of like monotonous pacing and stuff, but is still like character driven and dialogue driven, the dating sim genre isn't that bad of a fit. It seems like basically the right fit, especially for trying to give you a sense of security.
Yeah, the monotony
If
gives
it's-
you a
If
false
it's
sense of
going
security.
to pull the rug out from under you, it needs to condition you. I don't think it did a very good job of doing so.
I think it did a
When you-
fantastic
it did a great
job.
job.
You
dialogue and
You did not play this game.
right? Okay. Mitch played this game really fast.
Yeah,
Well, I had to beat the whole thing today.
that's true.
You actually had a month.
Well, I wasn't gonna play this game.
Well, there you go.
So if you don't give the game a chance, then you're not gonna like it. I don't know what to
I
say.
gave it a chance.
I don't think you did.
you said the game.
I didn't give it as much of a chance as you guys, but
I mean, you
Isn't
played the
the
game
game-
in less than half of the expected time, which means you didn't really let yourself get into the monotony and stuff. You just weren't there very long.
that's because it was monotonous.
I had to break up the monotony. That was like it took me a long. I basically did a day. If that makes sense. Like I did one
okay.
in-game day not every day, but like whenever
Yeah.
I would boot up the game, I'd play one in-game day and then I'd walk away because I'd be like, that was awful.
Yeah,
hated it.
I kind of did something like I did 2 sessions of part 1, and the rest of it after I finished the second half of part 1, I did parts 2 and 3 all, like the second half of part 1, 2, and 3 all at one sitting.
Yeah, I think I did the same.
So I had to split up the monotony of the first part.
Well, Ron, I don't know if you remember this because I first played this game in December when we first saw like some movie together. and that was right before I got to the point where Sayori killed herself. You remember that, Lerone?
You want to scroll up and chat, Facebook chat for like 10 months ago.
We haven't even finished like the synopsis of Act 2 yet.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So-
Yuri goes full yandere
yeah.
mode. Natsuki, you find out that her dad abuses her, and that's why she's so like short and petite, because she's malnourished because her dad doesn't feed her.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the poems get a lot more dark and like creepy.
Yeah.
And
have redacted text and
Yeah, you see
and-
Sayori pop up a lot of places. Like that picture I shared earlier. I don't know if you can see it, but you see Sayori hang yourself in one of the pictures in the classroom.
Yeah, it's really hard to see, but
Yeah,
yeah, I can't
see
I
it.
can't even really see it. I didn't even
I'll
notice
just-
that when I played the game, so
it's
This-
it doesn't happen all the time. It's like a
It doesn't.
of course it doesn't, yeah.
And a
Speaking
lot
of
the stuff
randomness-
is, like, there's a lot of random stuff, so like some players will have different experiences.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
like the special poem that Mitch talked about earlier. It's different for every player.
Huh.
Well, it's random.
Yeah, you get 2 special poems.
I believe so.
Yeah, 2 or 3. And
I
yeah,
see.
at the end of at the end of every night, you're given a special poem, which I think you're supposed to sort of feel like they're coming from Sayori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also I'm not sure if I was the only one who noticed this. I talked to Jake about this and he didn't notice. There's text files being added to the folder where the game's located while
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
and I noticed them, and like I would like constantly check my folders to see what was added, and it's definitely Sayori trying to talk to you.
That's yeah. This game does some neat stuff with that, with like you're like watching the files on your system in only in the Doki Doki folders, not actually messing with anything on your PC. But like,
Yep.
you know, like when Sayori kills herself, her player file is gone and gets deleted from the game files, and yeah, there's text files that come and go, and
A .chr file is deleted. I believe that it's like that isn't a real file.
yeah,
That's
no,
just-
it's not.
yeah.
It's just it's representing her character.
It's representing
file.
her. Yeah.
Did anyone? Is there a way to open those files?
Yep.
Oh yeah, we
Is
can.
there
There's we
stuff in
can.
them?
Yes. Okay, that's a whole.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic.
So are they just like text files?
No.
I never tried. so-
No.
No, they
Oh,
have not.
we'll talk about that at the extra credits at the end. How about?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's super interesting, and
Yeah.
that seems like a more of like if you want to stay for the after show, we can quickly discuss that. How about?
Okay.
So moving on with the rest of Act 2, Yuri gets more and more obsessed with you and like talks about wanting to masturbate to your scent or whatever. And then
Accurate.
on Friday, right before the thing, you get asked. Oh, also, Monica is clearly trying to push you away from Yuri.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
is the big blocky black text that will randomly appear sometimes. That is
Yep.
also trying to drive you away from Yuri
Yep.
and like drive
Is
you
that-
towards.
Is that what that was when it gave you a choice? I just kept clicking on Yuri and it kept shaking, just getting bigger.
Oh, like
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a
when you-
decision. in,
When you ask
Go
who to
ahead.
spend the weekend with, it forces you into picking Monica.
Monica.
Don't pick Monica. It forces it by like resetting your mouse's position every time you go above a certain point.
Yeah.
So you can move the mouse fast enough and click on the thing above that, and I did that, and it'll still force you to pick Monica after that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because the one I remember that it just zoomed in on the screen until the other option was green.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The game also messes with dialogue boxes. Like sometimes you just like you'll get like random dialogue boxes that just say like no. That's the only choice. You weren't even asked a question.
says no.
you just
Yeah.
or just nothing. Like there's just a point where you get a dialogue box and it just like there's just nothing there and you just click it and God, it does such a good job of like getting rid of your sense of security.
Brilliant.
So yeah,
So-
and then after you pick, so that's on Friday. You pick to spend the weekend with Monica, and then Yuri walks up to you and is like, "Hey, I love you. Do you love me?" and no matter which option you choose, yes or no, she pulls out a knife and stabs herself.
Before that, the poem.
Twice.
Oh yeah, the poem.
She dipped it in. She used her body
Yeah.
fluids to like. What she like pee on it or something? I forgot what the exact dialogue.
Yeah, that's kind of a less important detail, but thanks for reminding us, Julian.
Also, Natsuki's poem is, instead of a poem, it just says, "I'm really worried about Yuri. Can you talk to her?"
Yep.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, she gets big blocky text that says, "Actually, ignore that poem. Go spend time with Monica."
Yeah. Christ.
Oh yeah,
So
and,
creepy.
yeah. Yuri gets really crazy too. She tells Natsuki that she should like kill herself.
Kill herself. It's
By
good for your health.
going under a vending machine. Yeah, it's good for her health. Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
Natsuki's like, "You're a cutting bitch, and like you cut yourself."
Yep.
That was-
Which
that
is
was-
sort of alluded to in part 1 that she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, then she stabs herself, and does anyone have a good visual aid for that one? Because
And then you sit there, you hit skip, and you wait.
yeah,
You spend the
so
entire weekend
Man,
with Yuri.
I went and took a dump and came back, and it was still going. It's like, jeez.
yeah, so after she kills herself, you are sitting on the classroom floor looking at her dead body for the entire weekend.
Oh my gosh, that's a really low resolution.
I-
Yeah. But she's just sitting there like that.
I'm actually having trouble finding. Oh, this is a little higher.
And
res.
then
Yeah.
at the end, I finally make a connection with the character because one of them comes in and just vomits. I'm like, thank you. I wanted to do that.
Natsuki.
Why is that still low res?
That's definitely worse.
It's just Twitch.
That's 13.
It's not.
66 by 728.
Why do you keep saying Twitch? This is Discord.
Make a persuasive argument.
Yeah, there's a picture of her stab after she stabs. She stabs herself twice. That's after the first stab, before the second stab.
Yeah.
With that lovely face that she gives you there. Yeah, and then you sit there and watch her sit with her corpse for the entire weekend. Natsuki comes
blood
in
turns
and she's like,
black.
"Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing here?" And then she sees her and then vomits and leaves.
And then does the game reset after that? Like, does it do the same thing?
I think doesn't Monica show up?
Yeah, and Monica's not disturbed at all. And you're
Yeah,
like,
Monica's not. Oh yeah, Monica's not surprised. She's like, "Oh well, you know, surprise, surprise. We knew she was crazy. Like, I guess we'll have to clean this up."
And she's like, I'll take care of this, and the game just ends.
And she says, "I'll take care of this," and then it says like Yuri.chr has been deleted or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think. And then she's like, "You know what? This would be so much easier if no one else was here." And then Natsuki's character file gets deleted.
Yep.
And that's the transition into Act 3.
Yep. So I think we've basically been peppering our thoughts of Act 2 throughout the whole thing. Is there any
Yeah.
final thoughts here?
Act 2 was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's one of the most. It was extremely effective.
Yeah.
It's the best way to describe it. I mean, I said this before, but I was legitimately sweating. I was like talking to Julian while I was doing it. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't want to advance the dialogue boxes. I don't like this. Like, why did the game do this to me?
I was
And Julian just like, keep playing.
Yeah, I
That
just
was
started
when I started paying attention.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's just a space bar. They just keep saying your sense of security was taken away, but they didn't take your space bar away.
but sometimes they did. Sometimes instead of the spacebar just advancing one line of dialogue, it would advance many lines of dialogue, and some of it would be
Or
total
it would go like-
garbage. And
oh, it
Eh,
rewound Act 2. Did you guys get that?
what's up?
Where would it rewound part of Act 2? Like, you find say
Oh.
recutting yourself, and then it just rewinds.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And then it just rewinds so that you don't see that.
yeah, I forgot
Yep.
about that part. Forgot to mention that.
bites the dust.
Yeah. I think it does a really excellent job. And maybe it doesn't affect all people as effectively, but I think the three of the people here who out of the four who played the game themselves were definitely felt it.
Wait, did Larone not play the game?
He watched it.
He watched it. He did not play it.
All you had to do was press space. Okay. All right, never mind.
Certainly a different experience playing it for the first time rather than watching it.
Yeah, I think so. But
yeah,
It's free, like.
yeah. But anyway, even talking about this game, it still kind of gives me chills. I don't know if that's the same for any of you guys. Julian, it's been a long time for you, so you're probably more desensitized to the game at this point.
Yeah, I'm over it now, but after like the first week,
Like seeing
playing
these,
it-
like, okay, I haven't like looked at any content
I-
really for this
I had-
game since
not goosebumps, but yeah, I had chills.
since the time I played it.
It affected me.
And it's, yeah, these images and stuff are, and they might not even seem that unsettling. For those of you who watched the spoilers and didn't play this game, this might seem like not super creepy, but it's in the context of the game and what you got used to and the music and like I had to mute the music. I couldn't handle the music.
the music was really good.
And the music was like the most monotonous thing in the entire game. Like it was this one repeating music track the whole time, and they just started fucking with it, messing with it. I can't be esports with this one, and this isn't a very esports game
We'll
anyway.
never get a sponsor.
There's literally pictures of people stabbing themselves with a knife. I think esports is sort of
They're
out the
stabbing
window.
themselves with a cucumber. Clearly,
Sorry,
I think
it's
sort of
esports.
The crash story.
You're good. Yeah,
Falling in
so.
line. Oh, he's doing the tune, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still get that song stuck in my head.
Every day, I imagine a future.
Oh
where
man. Yeah, I
be-
forgot. Yeah, that song actually does have lyrics in the credits.
I will admit I didn't really stick around for all of the credits, so I don't really know the lyrics. If that's another one of those meta sandwiches on there.
I mean, the credits immediately start with the lyrics. I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah, but I only stuck
Oh,
around for
like-
like 2 lines.
Yeah, I didn't actually listen to the lyrics very carefully. I'm very bad at that. But
Dan told me as soon as I saw lyrics I was done, so I opted out as fast as I could.
Credits.
the credits.
God, today is not my
Yeah,
day.
you're just talking is hard for you. Maybe the game affected you more than you thought.
Maybe.
You're gonna
Maybe.
wake up tomorrow morning. You're gonna be vomiting.
The cat's just gonna be like spinning like an owl. And
Just Monica.
feed
Just
me.
Monica.
Just Monica.
Also,
Um,
wait, no, I'll say that
oh
for
yeah,
the next
so
credit.
I'll quickly summarize Act 3 to just get us back on track. Monica comes clean and admits that she knows that she's a character in a game and that she's been manipulating things to try and get you to like her.
Mm-hmm.
And like she doesn't want to get the character that you're playing to like her. She doesn't care about that. She wants to get you, the person sitting at the computer, to like her.
Yeah.
And she makes that clear. She's like, and she feels like she was
I like how she calls out your actual name or whatever your user is.
On your PC, yeah.
Yep.
she feels like she was shorted out because she didn't get a good ending. Like there's no good ending involving her, so she sabotaged everyone else's good endings instead. And this is where it goes back to that thing I complained about earlier, where I was like, Sayori's depression felt really unearned as a consumer of this media. That was foreshadowing because Monica admits that she also was like messing with their personalities. So Sayori was already depressed. She enhanced her depression to accelerate that.
Yeah,
and
and she
trying
said
to
that she
drive
went
you-
too far. She like
Yeah,
turned
she-
it up too high.
Yeah, and she tried to push you away from Sayori.
And she enhanced Yuri's yandere
Obsessiveness.
obsessiveness. Yeah.
Yep,
And
big time. And her
She-
self-harm also
Yeah.
turned up to 11.
so she admits to driving two characters to suicide, and she just says, "I really want to be with you. Please be with me. Like I deleted everyone else. Can it just be us now?"
And you're in this like abyss with
So
just her and
How
Yeah,
long
you're
will
you're
this
in an
go on?
empty classroom, but it's a
It'll
very
go on-
different. Somebody have a shot of that because it's kind of important that the art, like that the style and the shading, it's very different from the
You ever
rest
seen
of the
that?
game.
It's not Jumanji, but it's like the space one where they're in the house in space. It's kind of like that.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
This,
oh,
I'm
I know
not
what you're
making
talking about.
Any promises about the quality of this because apparently I'm incapable.
It looks like
Why?
it's tiny.
No, you should see it on my computer. It's not tiny. I don't know if it's like.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Why did it work?
Yeah, Julian got it.
Yeah, jeez.
So yeah, now all of a sudden the game is like really shaded, and there's like kind of lighting getting thrown, and the background through those windows is actually in motion.
Yeah, you're just like in outer space for some reason with explosions.
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh,
and that dialogue goes on forever.
So
Yeah.
we'll go on forever. Did she
Okay.
ever like repeat the hint about like going into your directory? Because I saw that, I was like, oh, that's what I need to do.
That is
Yeah,
also where I realized, like, I had the feeling that maybe that was what I was supposed to do, but I'm like, but maybe I need to wait a little bit. Maybe there's more dialogue that's interesting. But
I set that to auto while I was going through and looking for it because I moved my Steam directory and I had to go find it. It's like, where did I put this thing?
She has a lot of dialogue here.
Yeah, he said there's like 2 hours worth.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, okay, so what happens to give the quick synopsis is as you talk to her, at some point she stops giving you this continuous stream of dialogue, and she's just like, now it can just be just you and me, we can just sit here and whatever comes to mind we just chat about or whatever. And basically then there'll be gaps of silence with her just staring at you, as you can see here, with no dialogue box or anything. And then occasionally she'll pipe up and say something. Some things are actually kind of interesting or kind of neat, or
She
philosophical.
talks about how like rap is another form of literature, and she wishes there was a rapper in literature club or something.
Yeah, and there's a lot of just random stuff like that, or just whatever topics pop into Monica's head. I think it's random.
Yeah.
And the gaps get longer and longer between the things of dialogue until it hits some cap. But like, then at that point, it's like a minute and a half between things of dialogue. So you're like just sitting there for long stretches of time with no dialogue.
But does she ever give you the hint again to
I don't
go to
know.
the directory?
She does if you close the game. Like if you don't
Okay.
try and delete her,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
just try and close the game. She's
That-
just like, hey, that hurt.
Yeah,
Stop
like
doing that.
yeah, like don't like you're not like trying to like hurt me, are you?
Yeah.
Because I actually closed and opened the game a few times, and she got more and more like, hey, what the fuck?
Stop
like-
doing that. Yeah.
Like as you like the more times you did it.
yeah, no, I'd been. Yeah, no, I deleted her file pretty quickly because she
Yeah.
like kind
Yeah.
of hints super heavily at it. She's like,
Yeah,
it
she
was
does.
So easy.
She doesn't
to
hint. She
get rid of the
tells you
other-"
exactly what you need to do.
But
She even mentions the Steam version of the game has specific instructions.
She lays it on pretty thick. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but it's not like she's saying delete my file. She's saying it was so easy to delete their files. All I had to do.
First,
was,
okay,
like,
so maybe I'm dumb.
But she's not. in
Okay,
the
no, I'm
Steam version.
definitely dumb. I just like it just didn't cross my mind that I'm supposed to that she was saying like, oh yeah, you could just delete my file too. I was just like, no, this is fine, just Monica.
Wait,
This is my life now, just Monica.
This is my life now.
So,
it originally
can I
wasn't
just-
as obvious.
It was really
They
obvious
made it a
to
little
me.
more obvious. And
Yeah,
they made
I
the
thought it
Steam
was
version,
really
so they
obvious.
had to.
Oh, it wasn't as obvious before. I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, so I didn't do the Steam version. I don't know.
I did the
Oh.
Steam version.
Yeah,
the
so-
Steam version
She
happened,
was
you had to
like-
make it like blatant.
Yeah, she was like, oh, those characters' files were so easy to delete. I mean, you have the Steam version, so if you wanted to do something like that, you'd have to do whatever.
Oh yeah, since I didn't have
Yeah.
the Steam version, she did not say anything like that.
I didn't have the Steam version. I thought it was really obvious.
I thought it was okay. It was eventually obvious to me, but that piece of dialogue, like, oh, deleting all the other characters was so easy. That I don't know. It just didn't cross my mind.
I didn't.
I wasn't in the
delete her.
right state of mind. Like, I wasn't thinking because you said you were already noticing game files and stuff changing. I just wasn't thinking about like game
Yeah, why-
files.
why did
Like,
you
I was
keep
thinking like
looking for
in
that?
the game. Like, I didn't think she was deleting actual files off my hard drive because that they didn't
Yeah.
make that blatantly clear that
I
they
was
were
the same
messing
as
with
Jake.
actual files on my hard drive.
Like I didn't delete her immediately, But
Like, I
deleted her
thought-
pretty quickly.
Like I thought
didn't-
maybe there was I had to figure out how to delete her within the game. I didn't consider actually leaving the game to do
That
that.
might have something to do with it.
Just alt tab.
Anyway,
Actually, did you
um,
close the game, delete it, and come back in?
I
no.
did. I did.
Because I deleted it.
Oh wait, or did I delete it
well,
while the
I
game
just-
was running?
I
No, I
just
think
alt
I-
tab.
No, I think I started it back up again. I think
Yeah,
I
just
think I
alt
left the
tab,
game.
deleted it, went back in. She just started dying right there.
Yeah. Anyway,
So-
can I just get a fun fact out of the way?
Sure.
Sure.
In version 1.1.1, this was removed, but in earlier versions, one of the things that she could say in this was, "Hey, have you heard of a game called Super Smash?" Wait, what? I was just spacing out and I started talking for some reason. Was I programmed to talk about that? Because even I have no idea what that is. Ahaha, sometimes I feel like I'm not in control and it's kind of scary. But if you have some way to contact the people who created me, maybe they'll know why I started saying that.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
But they removed that.
No.
That's fair.
Probably for copyright, maybe.
I don't think it's,
Nintendo's not friendly.
that's true. Yeah, it could have been for copyright. Could have just been from people thought maybe it detracted from things a little bit.
Oh wait, no. I actually read Dan Salvato's AMA on the DDLC subreddit. He said that like most of the people who like originally he thought that like just he didn't think the game was gonna get very big. But when it became big, there was a lot of people who played it who had never played Smash before and were just like, "What? I don't get this Easter egg." Like he thought it would just be more people who knew who Dan Salvato was and that like he was a huge member of the Melee community, who made
Right.
competitive Melee much easier to get good at.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Also
why I
fun.
knew it.
Also,
Yeah.
fun fact: if you're streaming, Monica jump scares you.
Yeah.
Instead of saying the name on your computer file, she also says, "Oh, I'm being watched, aren't I?"
Mm-hmm.
She's
That's
like,
kinda
"Hi,
cool.
hi everyone," and then like, "Yeah, are you expecting me to do something?" And then at first she does nothing. She just zooms in, and then a second later she like zooms in really quickly, and then her like face distorts into this like monstrous image.
That's
Oh,
that's
that's cool.
so
I'm
cool.
pulling up a video of it. I forgot how unsettling the music is with just Monica.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
The music is pretty unsettling.
Man. It's an experience for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, then let's quickly talk about the end of Act 3 here. You eventually realize got to delete Monica's character file, .chr file,
Eventually.
from the directory. And you delete it, and she starts to die. And I want to get this to somebody who remembers this event more clearly, exactly how this goes down.
She starts to distort and die, and she says,
Lots of
There's-
I loves you, if I remember correctly.
yeah, there's like no future in the literature club.
She decides to restore the files of Sayori, Natsuki, and Yuri.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
She said
then
like
what
she said something along the lines of like I just want it to be back to the way it was. Like maybe it should have just been the literature club all along, something along those lines.
But she keeps herself deleted,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is kind of important to the very end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
And-
game continues.
The game continues. This
I
is-
really wish it didn't, but it did.
this is like a
was.
pseudo Act 4 surprise.
and an epilogue.
Act 3.5.
Yeah, it's like an epilogue.
Act 3.5 I think is a good way
Oh.
of. It's not really an epilogue though, because it isn't.
And you think
Yeah.
like so it feels like an epilogue at first. Like Sayori's the president of Doki Doki Literature Club, and you think you're gonna get this happy ending where you get to be with Sayori or whatever. You get to be with one of the girls.
Yep.
And then Sayori's like, by the way, I know what you did.
Yeah, this is by the way at the end of like almost a whole day. Like
Yeah.
you play through almost a whole nother day of this game.
She's like, by
With-
the way, thanks for deleting Monica.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, she's
They're-
self-aware too.
Were they
And
all
then-
self-aware? Like, or is it
No,
just
no.
her?
No.
So,
It's whoever
the
becomes the
president of
president
the-
becomes
president-
self-aware.
Yeah, the president.
Oh,
of
how
the-
did they decide it becomes the president?
It's never said.
Not important.
Probably poems or something.
I mean, they just might be an array.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a game that's aware it's a game. So like, the in-universe reason is just Sayori's
programmed to be the next in line.
Yeah. Anyway, so Sayori's like, thanks for deleting Monica. Monica,
so it was
not
only
fully
Sayori?
deleted, says,
No, it was-
oh, whoever is president of the literature club is self-aware, and being
Okay.
self-aware is like being tortured. Like, it's literally miserable and torturous. So I'm gonna just blow up the game. You can't play it anymore.
Yep.
And then the
She
credits
does
roll.
that.
I dig it.
And
you
that's
see all the
that's Doki Doki Literature Club.
And then voice acting.
Yeah, and then Monica sings.
Yep.
The song in the credits.
Yes, and she sang basically the song you've been hearing in the background for the whole game. Is given some
Oh.
lyrics.
Like a minor character detail, Monica talks about playing piano throughout the game, so that's foreshadowing to she's the one who's
Yeah.
writing the background music that you're listening to.
Yep.
Yep. Sorry, forgot about that little detail.
I think it's.
I wanted to avoid putting too many details where we could. But
Yeah, it's kind of a small detail, but you know it's important. She says, "Hey, I've been practicing."
I mean, yeah, if you want to talk about small details, this game is chock full of them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which could definitely be missed if you whiz through the game really quickly.
So now that we've talked about the
Lorone.
game, now that we've talked about the game, do we want to explain our ratings real quick? I mean, we're kind of running short on time.
We're way over time, but
We haven't even done Shenmue Watch.
we
It's
have
not-
Shenmue Watch.
Shenmue
Oh,
Watch.
I'll go ahead and do some for Shenmue Watch. You guys talk about why you rated the game like you did.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we'll start from the bottom and go to the top this time then. So, Mitch, what you got?
As I said before, the game worked, which was nice. I mean, it has a bunch of nice stuff in it, but I hated every moment of it. It wasn't enough to bring it up from mediocrity. So I don't mean to sound like I hate the game, because I don't. I don't feel strongly one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay. Larone, if you can, or
I mean, it was fairly interesting. Really, I didn't really pay attention to the beginning that much. You know, I wasn't actually playing the game. But then
Right.
once things start happening, I actually watched the stream for real. And that's all I got.
all right.
I was well, a lot of people in chat were like, "Oh man, this is genius." Oh my god, I wouldn't go that far. Then I'd give it like a 9, but it was good.
All right, Julian. All right, Julian is MIA, so I guess I will quickly explain my rating. I mean, part 1 was whatever. If I had just played part 1, I probably would have given it like a 2. But part 2 is one of the most effective pieces of art, I guess. At least for me, like it impacted me and affected me more than I think any game I've ever played. So that definitely counts for something. And the stuff that they do with the programming and the files and the stuff we'll talk about in the extra credits even just takes it to the extra mile for me. So I think it's a fantastic experiment. Don't like the whole genre and the dating sim part of it, but I understand it. I understand why it's in the game.
What do you mean it impacted you?
Like, well, okay, by impact, I don't mean like, oh, it was like an emotional experience or whatever. Like, it was more of just, like, this game, like, as far as horror games go, like, this game actually, like, made me feel terrified. Like,
Okay, sorry about that.
like, I did not want, like, this is the first game ever where I was, like, scared to continue. And that made almost no sense in a text-based game where you're, like, a text-based visual novel. Like, it's not even, like, a game where I'm, like, moving a character around in a scary space or whatever. Like, in a visual novel game, and it made me more scared than any horror game I've ever played. That's impressive to me.
Okay, are we gonna skip back? Are we gonna go back to Julian?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I gave this game an 8 out of 10 because I felt Act 1 set up the rest of the game pretty, like, really well. Act 2 and 3 were borderline, like genius level with how it handled horror and how I felt while playing the game. Like, I don't play a lot of horror games, but I can't recall being as scared as I was while playing Act 2. And I just didn't see Monica like manipulating everything and being self-aware. Like, I didn't see that coming.
No.
And when it came, I was like, wow, this is an experience. Like, I'm really glad I experienced this. You know, like, have you guys ever like played a game and you're like, yeah, like I'm really glad I did that. You know, like that's
Yeah.
how I felt after playing
100%.
Doki Doki Literature Club.
So I gave it a 6.5 out of 5.
Out of
The-
5?
6.5 out of
Dang,
It's
Dan,
not
I didn't know
bad.
you liked it that much.
5. The sins of the first act were not erased by the good aspects of the second and third acts. What I will say is this is a game that I've never played a game like it. You know, I've never played a dating sim, so I don't know. Maybe every dating sim is existentially terrifying, but I doubt that. I've never played a game like this, and I think it's worth playing. Even though I only gave it a 6.5 out of 5, and like most 6.5
Out of 5?
games that play don't bother.
Damn.
You keep saying 5.
I don't know why I keep saying 5. If I like gave any other
It's
game
probably
a
my
6.5
fault.
If I gave any other game a 6.5 out of 10, I'd say if you're a fan of the genre, get it. Otherwise, don't. This one, I'm saying it's short, it's free, and the most important selling point for me is that it's unique. You're not going to find another game like this.
Yeah, maybe Undertale.
And unique in a good way.
That's about it.
Yeah, it's unique in a good way. So just like experience it.
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but I'm really, really glad that I played it.
Yep. So, I think real quick we'll go into our last little news topic of the night and Shenmue Watch, and then we'll do a quick little extra credit section at the end to talk about some of the hidden stuff in this game and the extra stuff that Dan Salvato snuck into the game files, etc., that are of particular interest.
Are you gonna do the extra credits as like a separate VOD on YouTube?
No, I think it can just be at the end for those who
just
care
make
to
it real
continue
long.
listening.
It's a long podcast.
Aaron.
Yeah, it's long, but so going into our first we'll do Shenmue Watch. What do we got for Shenmue 3 news, Dan?
This isn't Shenmue 3 news. This is Shenmue 1 and 2 news. It might possibly be coming to the Switch, maybe.
Very great. Wonderful.
Wow.
Amazing.
You gonna pull up that link?
Oh, yeah. We'll pull that up.
Next, I'll be putting it on mobile phones.
Shenmue 1 and 2 being considered for Nintendo Switch.
And I skimmed the article a little bit. Didn't actually read it because I didn't have time.
Yeah. Though, are we sure that the Switch is powerful enough to run Shenmue 1 and 2?
Probably not.
That's
It was on the Dreamcast. So I
But
mean,
if Shenmue 3 is any indication, it's one of the least well optimized games
they-
ever created.
They did mod Breath of the Wild onto the Dreamcast, so I imagine the Switch can handle it.
That's a good point.
Anyway, one of the creators said fans have really shown their love for Shenmue, and for that I am grateful. Personally, I
I
think
thought you were about to
it'd
say
be great
surprised.
if you could play Shenmue on the Switch anywhere. So the creator wants it on the Switch, and that's about it.
Yep.
That's what we got for Shenmue Watch.
I'm surprised we had something.
Yep. All right, moving on. In the ongoing story of loot boxes and such, FIFA 19 discloses loot pack odds.
Pretty good. This is great, guys. You're gonna love this.
All right, so your odds of getting a gold 75 plus player is 100%, a gold 82 plus player 41%, a gold 85 plus player 4.3%, and a ones to watch player less than 1%.
Yeah, they didn't release the odds. They said less than 1%. That's
So
Well, yeah, which is a range. But 1% would still be terrible. Less than 1% is extraordinarily terrible.
1% is terrible because I've experienced games with 1%. It's trash.
This is less than 1%.
I
How
think it's
much-
important if we explain what a what is it? Something to watch.
Ones to watch player.
Ones to watch player.
Yeah, can you?
Okay.
I
So
have
what
no
a ones
idea.
to watch player is it's a player whose stats are updated in like live. So like if that player has a really good season, their stats get better in game. If they have
Oh,
a
okay.
bad season, their stats get worse in game. But
Which is, by the way, can we appreciate that? That's a really cool feature for a video game to have.
That is, yeah.
it's the absolute worst way to implement it, but sure, okay. So basically, you have a 1% chance to get this player who could possibly be crucial to any competitive lineup, or who could possibly have like their real life counterpart have a terrible season and turn into garbage.
That's where I'd be mad.
That's the thing that makes me upset about this is you could be required to open hundreds and hundreds of loot boxes to get the best player in the game.
Yep.
And I think I could be wrong. I think Ones to Watch is only available through this system, but I'm
The 23 characters in the ones to watch are only available through loot boxes.
So
Which that's what really, I think that's really particularly bothersome, is that the only way to get these characters is through a less than 1% lottery pool. That's nuts.
This is why the masses are starting to be out on these sports games.
that's got to be like
I mean,
I'm
for a 1% chance to have a reasonable expectation of getting the item, it takes several hundred drops.
Yeah, no, I feel like on average it would take more than like 50,000 loot boxes to get all 23.
Yeah.
Like the calculation's not that difficult. I just don't want to.
That's assuming 1%, which that could be 0.1% for all we know, which, I mean, could easily turn that 50,000 to 100,000 million, depending on what it is. I mean,
I think 100,000. Does anyone want to run the calculation on that? Like what the
I'm
if
running
it's
it.
at like
So if you run for a 1% chance, if you run 200 loot boxes, your expected percentage is then 86%.
to get one.
yeah,
For
no, no.
1%.
I'm talking about just average for all of
To get all 23 characters.
the average for all 23 has got to be north of 500,000 at 1% because it's
Probably.
because it would be 2,300 if you got a unique one every time. Are you guaranteed to get one that you haven't opened yet?
I think you are.
Because then it would just be 2,300 on average.
I think you are.
If you're guaranteed to get a unique one, then it's not as bad. It's still really, really bad. But if you're guaranteed a unique one every time, it's an average of 2,300.
But that's at 1%. Also, 2,300. How much does one of these loot packs? How much does one of these cost?
It's a good question.
Good question.
If it costs a penny, it's criminal. Okay, maybe not if it costs a penny, because that would be $2 or $23. But
So how does competitive FIFA work? Like, do the top
maybe
players have?
ones to watch have to be banned. Like that's the only fair
okay.
way to do it. Oh, and I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that's what it should be.
I don't know much about
Isn't competitive FIFA just like, at least online, the top players all like block each other and then they just scrub slay? And whoever can scrub slay the most gets the top spot?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Also, this ones to watch thing is new. To be clear,
What?
this ones to watch thing is new for FIFA 19. Anyway,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
so this is a promotion for that. Apparently, after the promotion's over, you will be able to unlock these characters in a way that isn't loot boxes.
That's
Okay.
good to hear.
That's the current market. Make loot boxes and squeeze them until you
Yep.
as much as you can.
But anyway, I think we've talked that to death, and
That
We have
was less
several
funny
loot
than
box
it was
episodes.
supposed to be. I'm
Yeah,
sad
it wasn't really
now.
funny.
Yo, I always thought the joke
yeah, I don't know, because it was less than 1%. I found that funny. But then we started talking about loot boxes and how they're stupid. So anyway, thank you all for listening. This has been Best of 6. Hope you all have a great day, and feel free to stick around for the extra credits after the show.
It's the chat at night.
The chat. We're going back to season 1.
Yeah. When else are we gonna get this chance?
All right, so welcome, guys, to the extra credit section. This extra credit section is
We can't steal from extra credits too, okay?
is sponsored. I was waiting for someone to say that. This week was sponsored by Shenmue 1 and 2, coming to the Nintendo Switch
For sure.
this
We're
holiday
positive
season.
about it.
This holiday season, you can get Shenmue 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Use the offer code in the description for 20% off.
I think you just gotta see Jake.
We don't have any of that, mind you.
Yeah, we don't. I want to be very
for
clear.
For the one person checking, we do not have that.
No. And for the one person checking, why did you check? Do you even want these games? You probably don't.
The consumer does not know what they want. We've been over this.
And we're back to the beginning of the show. Okay, so let's talk about the extra stuff in Doki Doki. How about those extra letters? The secret letters. Start with special letter. Special poem. Jeez, that took way too many tries. The special poem.
I'm spreading.
The special poem is in Act 2.
Yeah, so these will randomly, or you get 2 of these randomly, I think. I already posted it, but I'm posting it again.
Yes.
Yeah. What are the stuff that appears in the text files that appear?
One is a picture of Sayori.
Yeah.
It's titled Happy Thoughts, and it's like a distorted image of her head.
Isn't it HXXPY TX? Like it's happy, but all the vowels are replaced with X's.
Maybe.
So real quick, so showing the poems here, you get one of 11 of these, or two out of 12 of these, or something. Point is, you just get 2 of these at random, and this is sort of a spattering of them. One of them, the text is all completely blacked out. It's all redacted. Though, if you bring it into Photoshop and mess with the levels, you can actually read what it says. And it's just like describing this patient with it sounds like it's written by a doctor. They're talking about a regular heartbeat, heart palpitations, chest pain. This is all wrong. Alyssa's symptoms are nowhere near this simple. I've seen it twice now, the screams of pain, and on and on and on. Sort of like a doctor describing a patient in a mental institution. And there's more of that in some of these poems. And I don't know, Julian, if you wanted to talk about what that's referring to, since I think you know it best.
The special poem. It's referring to, well, according to MatPat, game theory.
Game.
Yeah.
Just the theory.
Again.
Yeah, we said we needed more clickbait. Here we go.
That's right. I'll make sure I make a game theory thumbnail for this.
He says it's referring to the main character of another game that Team Salvado is probably working on.
Well, not probably. They are working on a game.
They are working on it. Okay.
Yeah. They are known to be working on a horror game that they were working on while working on Doki Doki. And
Alyssa is the main character of that game, who it's probably the plot of The Portrait of Malkov, the book that Yuri talks about that she read. It's like this is like her catalyst and how she gets psychic powers.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's gone through a lot of doctor experiments, and she's talking to her doctor's describing the after effects of her going through these experiments.
Yep.
So yeah.
So the game makes a lot of references to this kind of thing, sort of alluding to the fact that this game and their horror game that they're working on are connected.
Basically, Doki Doki Literature Club is probably a huge advertisement for Down Salvato's next game. And Yuri might be like the villain of that game. And Monica is the like protagonist. And Yuri might be Alyssa.
Yeah.
But
That's-
why is Monica the protagonist? She's a terrible person.
Because she's like self-aware.
You said
Forgot-
Yuri was the protagonist, right? Oh no,
No,
I'm wrong. No,
Yuri-
I mixed it up.
Yuri
Ignore me.
is likely to be like the psychic person
Yeah.
in the other thing.
Well, if I know anything about watching Matt Pat's videos, especially his theory ones on the creepy games, is that he's usually wrong.
Well,
like, made a
okay,
meme
so
of-
there's something kind of interesting, and I'm showing it on screen right now, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but in the merch store that Team Salvato has, they have some kind of creepy stuff from this game. And one of them is this poster set, which includes all of the girls sort of tied up in string, where, you
Please
know,
stop.
Sayori has not in the very more. I mean, you can see the picture. She's like tied up, like she's tied up around the neck, and like
It's a child.
her bow is tied up in string, and stuff like that. Like inside my head, I'm going to tell everyone. But if you notice, everyone's sort of tied up, except for Yuri. And if you take these posters and arrange them like so the strings on the edges of the posters connect, all the strings are coming out of from Yuri and like wrapping around the other people, which is sort of even more deeper foreshadowing to the fact that she was the one pulling, quote unquote, pulling all the strings, which is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And that they, I mean, put this in their Team Salvato's merch store, and this is in an art style that is nothing like Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
Like, it is in a completely different art style. Perhaps more like the art style of the game they're actually making. That Team Salvato's actually working on.
Fancy.
So, that's neat.
There's a bunch of secrets too in the .chr files.
Yes, this is what I find extremely cool.
Yeah.
Alright, so how do you open it? I never tried. You said that wasn't just a text box.
Yeah, so all of them are different. And they have, like, people, like, when the game first came out and people started, like, messing with these files, there was, like, threads on Reddit and stuff of people trying to figure out how to open and interpret these files.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the exact details of all of them. I know at least one of them, you were basically supposed to change it into a .png, and then you get this image file, and then in that image there's like a square with a bunch of blocks on it that are black and white, and if you take them, you can interpret those black and white dots as binary, and then use that binary to make a base 64 encoded string, which is a type of encoding for text and images and stuff, mostly used for on the web. And then if you take that base 64 encoding and change it to ASCII, then you can get some text out of it, which I actually honestly do not remember what it says. But that's sort of the example of the levels you'd have to go to open these files.
That's actually there's only one file that's that hard to open.
Yeah, that's the hardest one. That's just why it stuck out in my mind. Most of them are you just need to change it to the right file format, and you'll get like base 64 encoding, and then you just turn that into ASCII, or I think one of them just basically gives you an image with the answer. Or the solution.
Monica Monica.char can be renamed to Monica.png, which will result in a picture of a flaming ring with a square in the center containing black and white pixels. When this square is translated into binary, the result is a base 64 string. The string can in turn be translated, resulting into this document, which is it's kind of lengthy, not super long, but
What's the gist? If you have that available.
hold on.
Yeah, there's the.
Should I just read this aloud?
Oh yeah. Also on stream, just because I happened to bring it up, there's another picture of that sort of it shows Yuri like sitting in the classroom, with a blood drawing on the wall where he drew the eye from the book and stuff in blood. So also sort of
Even
alluding
more
to that,
foreshadowing.
even more foreshadowing that she was involved in those experiments from that book.
So Natsuki, you can rename that file to natsuki.jpg, which provides this picture. Whoops. Hold on a second. And then if you invert the colors and
Yeah, that's
map it to a cone,
Oh yeah.
it gives you this image.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna call that one the hardest, to be honest. That you have to invert the
call that one-
colors and project it onto a 3D cone.
Sayori.
That's still so
Char
cool.
Can be renamed into an OGG file.
That's an audio file.
Applying a spectrograph to the audio file will generate a QR code to the website Project Libitina. The
Yeah.
site's IP address will be and hosting information correlate with the game's main site. Yuri.chr is simply a long stream of alphanumeric text. Putting it into a hash type detection tool finds that it is base 64, which when converted turns into this document. Oh, that's really long.
Okay, I really like the spectrograph QR code one. That's so cool. Oh wow, that is very long.
Yeah.
So, in all fairness to MatPat, there is a lot of very compelling evidence. Not so much
Yeah.
evidence, more of just Dan Salvato telling you that it's related to their game, another game that they're working on. Because this is a lot of content to make.
We're supposed to get more information about Project Libitina this year, but nothing yet.
We have 4 months left.
Well, like 2.
4? Until 4 months? I mean, a little less than 4 months until 2019.
I guess if you count October, it's
We have
3.
3 months, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know where 4 is coming from.
Well, I mean, it's 4 months minus 4 days.
No, it's 3 months minus 4 days. All of October, all of November, all of
And
December.
Oh yeah, I can't do math. It's okay. Mitch is spreading something. I don't know what.
Alright, we don't know where it started. One of you guys could have given it to me.
That's true.
Pretty sure Mitch gave it to us.
Yeah, I think Mitch. Yeah, you started with it at the beginning of this
We
podcast.
started with the dumb.
But I think, unless anyone has anything else to say, I think it's it for our extra credits. Sorry, this was sort of less. Like I said, this is an extra to the show, so we
there's a
didn't have
bunch
as
of
much
other-
content and stuff to fill your ears with.
There's a bunch of other hidden details throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, if you really want to get into it, there's both wiki pages on the subject, Reddit threads, and if you're into it, the MatPat videos. There's 2 of them that kind of talk about this stuff, like the tie-in to his other game, mostly.
Yeah.
is what that's focused on. But this game does there's a lot of hidden content, and hidden in cool ways. I think. I mean, come on, an OGG file, a CHR file that you have to turn into an OGG file, put a spectrograph on it, and that gives you a QR code that you scan to go to a website. That's so cool.
Dan Salvato's a genius.
And Salvato's I guess.
He's a cool guy. Have actually met him once
Definitely
before.
admire him.
Fun fact: I have met the legend himself, Dan Salvato. We
Also, I think we messed up when we were talking about Doki Doki Literature Club, because one of the special poems was written in the perspective of Monica. I can't. It was in the link that Dan shared. The one that talks about I cut myself for the first time.
Yep, that's the image I had open on stream. So good thing I
Okay.
picked right. I'm
So, yeah.
supposed to be the responsible one, though. I don't think I'll be doing it again unless I decide by killing myself. I left a memento of the occasion below. I got this one. It's one of my poems. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So there's a special poem called A Joke. It's titled A Joke. A man walked into a club. In the club, there was a girl who liked him very much. They spent some time together, and then she liked him even more. One day, the girl realized she was in love with him. Before disaster could happen, a third party intervened with her programming. Suddenly, the girl hated herself for being in love. This contradiction caused the script to derail. The universe started to collapse, but she killed herself just in time. So that's clearly Monica writing about Sayori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
Also, this is another special poem that I got. Stare at the dot to reveal a special message. Yeah, I closed that real quick. Just got the hell out of there.
You know, if you click it, like you see like Sayori's eye as the cursor.
Oh god, I'm really glad I just skipped past it. Yeah, apparently after 10 seconds, the dot goes away and a tiny little text that says "I love you" shows up.
Yeah.
But I was not willing to stick around for 10 seconds to find out.
Yeah,
So
I
I was
got
just
that
like,
one too.
nope, I've fallen for this before. I'm not doing that. I have fallen for this stare at the dot and get jump scared. That's not what actually happens in Doki Doki, but this game is all about subverting your expectations. So, yep. Oh god, I'm really glad I didn't get this special poem. Just a distorted Monica instead of a poem. I would not. I wouldn't have liked that. Just this is the only security I had left were these special poems.
I got that special poem. It wasn't that creepy.
I wouldn't have liked it.
I'm really glad I didn't get the "Can You Hear Me" one. And a short giggle plays when the poem is clicked away. I'm glad
I got "Can You Hear Me?"
Really?
Yep.
But you also had it muted, right?
Oh,
You had it muted, right?
I had it muted. Was there audio?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Julian just said.
a short giggle sound plays when the poem is clicked away.
Oh, I didn't get the giggle. I mean, my volume wasn't totally muted, but it was so quiet it was effectively muted. Like, I could occasionally hear some things. And I don't like that. So, yeah. I think that's all we got for you guys tonight. Thanks for sticking around for the late show.
Undertale did it better.
That is
I
a,
should play Undertale.
that is a
I should.
major
Undertale's
spoiler.
also a game that I've managed to avoid hearing anything about, although I've wanted to play Undertale, so I've avoided things about it on purpose.
You're
I have
welcome.
a
Yeah,
vague
Mitch-
idea of what happens.
I'm actually kind of mad at Mitch. I hate people who spoil things for no reason. It's
What
the
is
worst
Mitch
kind of person.
spoiled?
Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna go.
I think just saying that the games are in any way related. But okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I already knew.
Should
that.
I not play it on the Switch? Like, should I get it on Steam instead? Because I was playing. it on
Switch has extra content, is my understanding.
Oh, does it?
So I
It's like
should
a
get it on
cat
the Switch.
furry thing you have to fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I have my doubts on how nice it will play on the Switch, but
Also, the Switch is a different control scheme a little bit because I don't know. I watched the cat fight, and like you like have to move the controllers and use the like you have two cursors. It's weird. I don't really know how the generals.
oh, so they actually did like change the combat a little bit.
I don't know if it's in general or just that fight though, because that was the fight that was
Gotcha.
added. So,
Oh, okay.
I think I'm just gonna get whichever's cheaper, and it's $10 on Steam.
yeah, Nintendo will never drop its price because Nintendo.
What's Nintendo at? Is that like
I don't
30
know.
for Nintendo?
I think it's
Nintendo
30.
games don't go on sale, and they never drop in price.
I mean, it's not a Nintendo game.
It's on the Switch, so it might as well be.
That's a weird statement.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have yourselves a good one, and
Goodbye forever.
see you next week, where our main topic is something.
We should pick one.
We'll pick one.
And
Stay
also our
tuned.
next game we need to pick.
Yes. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below.
Ah.